Hey, welcome back to the Blue Collar Off-Road Podcast, episode 99. So, uh, three of us got back from Good Evening Ranch. Cody was unable to join us, but Richie actually went out and did stuff, so that was kind of cool.
And we're gonna have to bully him relentlessly if he's quiet this episode.
Oh yeah, he should have plenty to add. Um, so yeah, I mean, where do we even start? The trip, we don't have to spend hours on the drive down. There really wasn't a ton going on other than the massive rainstorm me and Richie drove through, but nobody cares about my lack of sleep. That's just you know, just par for
That's
the
a
course at
given.
this point.
I was continuously offering to drive, so you take a nap.
Yes, and then you take a nap for about an hour and a half, and wake up for a minute and go back to bed. I was like, he's sleeping. I'm just gonna let you do your thing,
I kept offering, man.
and I
And then
appreciate the offer.
as soon as that clock hit like 5, 6 o'clock or whatever, I was just awake.
Yep.
And that's when I was telling you to fucking switch.
Oh, but at that point, I was just like totally dialed in. Like I was taking all those little swervy hills. You know, we were going 70 downhill, 55, 60
50
or whatever.
uphill.
Some of those were killer.
I distinctly remember at one point I was, Graham, why don't you just let me drive? It was like, no, I am fucking determined now.
Because we were so fucking close.
So close, we were still like 4 hours away.
That's still pretty fucking close compared to where we were. Yeah, and the fog was killer too. But other than that, it was like,
And then all the baby clouds.
yeah, the fog. Yeah, the baby clouds, too fat to fucking fly, sitting in the valleys in between the hills. You'd go up a hill, it'd be clear, and then you'd go down and you couldn't see shit. Because it had been raining all the previous night. So, but yeah, it was a nice
And
drive.
I'm pretty sure there was a little bit of ice coming down too. I mean,
Really?
it was yeah. Well, it was
Oh,
like,
it was cold when we were in Pennsylvania, or that section of right
at
before.
one point it was like 28 degrees.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, but um, yeah. Other than that, it wasn't anything special. Um, just a long drive, not as long as Tennessee, but Tennessee we stopped in Pennsylvania after like 7 hours, anyways. So that split up that drive. So this is a longer one, but truck did good, trailer did good. Uh, did pretty good on fuel too. I was surprised. Only filled up twice.
Yeah,
That's it? That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean once before we left because it was almost empty, but I'm not going to count that because it's not a stop midway through. That's something I should have done before we even left. Once in like New York, right on the border of New York, and then once in like past the border of Pennsylvania. So we made it through all of Pennsylvania, I think, without filling up, which is kind of cool.
yeah. It was like roughly every 4 to 5 hours, essentially, we had a refuel.
What tank size is in the Cummins?
I don't know. It's either a 35 or a 40. Because JB's gauge goes down faster, and I know he said his tank was a 30, but we'd be filling up the same amount. So I'd be at a quarter, and he'd be at a half, and we'd fill up the same. So my gauge is definitely a little off. I'm not sure. It's probably,
That's just a Dodge thing.
yeah. I mean, it's the same with the Cherokees too, right? It's like what's the word? It gets it's less sensitive at the top and the bottom. So full, you can go miles and miles. It'll sit at full, and then you'll get more towards the middle, and it'll just shoot down to empty. But then at empty, it'll sit for a while, and you'll have a ton of fuel left afterwards. Like I think I've run the Cherokee basically dry, and it was at empty for like probably 3 hours, just wheeling with no fuel at the gauge. So, and it still
Yeah.
had some in the tank, so it wasn't. The gauges just aren't that accurate. But yeah. Anyways, so we get there, go to our cabin full of strangers
Dudes.
and JB because JB had drove down the night before and he had hung out with them. He went night wheeling with them, so he was all buddy buddy already. But we show up, absolutely fucking just destroyed. Luke, I think, got in 15 minutes before us.
Yep.
Uh,
And I left at 3:30 in the morning.
yeah, you can
Before
go.
we go, oh sorry, can I just butt in with my little trip story?
Sure.
Before we go too far, whatever you do, avoid Kingston, Tennessee, like it is the goddamn plague. Like, so I stopped to get gas there because it just happened to be where my fuel stop was, and there was like no way of avoiding it. It was on empty and like the light was on, and normally that's like 25 miles in that truck. But I was towing a trailer, so I had to stop. I stopped and I grabbed breakfast while I was at this gas station. So, anyways, get back in the truck, eat my breakfast, and I ended up getting a case of the shit and a O2 sensor fault in the truck from the gas that I got there. I got gas at a different station on the way back and had zero problems. Got gas in Virginia, no more problems. It was literally only that one station, and also gave me, the classic case of the runs. So that was like awesome. Fuck Kingston, Tennessee.
That's not your first run in too, so I'm surprised. And we actually talked about this when you got there, and you mentioned it as to why the fuck you stopped in Kingston, Tennessee again when you already knew it was not a good place to stop. So
No, that's a different place.
no,
No,
same
Kingston.
place.
It was
Sorry, why
definitely
would you do it
Kingston.
then?
Because I had to get gas. Like there was not really another option, and you hit kind of like a dead spot from Kingston, between Knoxville and there on the highway.
Well, I guess I can't really help you much there.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyways,
Just don't wait until your fucking truck's on empty.
yeah. Well, I've learned my lesson. I didn't think that
You're-
buying gas there was going to be the worst thing in the world.
You're fucking towing a trailer for a long trip. Why are you waiting until you're empty?
Because I was on the road and it was early in the morning, and I was just going with the flow of traffic. I'm sorry.
Well, you should be.
I am.
I want you to know I'm very disappointed in you, Luke.
I'm not
This is
surprised.
the weirdest conversation line I've ever heard on this podcast.
This is not the weirdest conversation that's ever been had.
I mean, just the outcome is not going to be anywhere informational whatsoever. So, anyways, so you show up to this place. Is it what you expected? Is it not what you expected? What's the shtick?
It was different,
Different.
than I expected.
Different?
Different.
It was just as good as I was hoping it was going to be, but in kind of a different way than what I was originally expecting.
So more like an AOP or more like a Roush, would you say?
It's kind of
Not really like
kind of
either.
in the middle. Yeah, it's not like either. But for me, what was different was pulling in. The place looks like a horse farm.
Because
Like,
it is.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
it is. But
It is the
like,
horse farm.
from the road, you're not going to expect wheeling to be there at all.
Nope.
And then, like, you're driving down, like this single track, and you stop at the office, and it's got like the wheeling permits, and you start seeing the cabins and stuff, and then like big rigs just start appearing around you as you drive in. It's really weird when you're first pulling in there, but the cabins are super nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I originally myself thought it was going to be more along the lines of Roush, but with cabins instead of just a parking lot. And I have to say, like, you can't be farther from that than the truth, because I mean, the place is just super well kept, and fucking just the cabins are really nice too.
Hmm.
And just everyone that we spoke to there was just fucking awesome, all the way from the employees to the other park goers.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, to give you an idea, right? Think of the closest analogy I could give you would be like, what's that property near Brookridge that the name's escaping me?
Battleground.
Battlegrounds. Yeah. It's like Battlegrounds, if you will, as far as the wheeling obstacles and stuff, but blown up times about 800.
That's actually a really good analogy.
So that gets me really excited because I love Battlegrounds. I think Battlegrounds is one of my favorite properties. So to
Yeah.
hear that there's like a really big version of it is really fucking cool and enticing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so like what threw me through a loop was that to get to a bunch of the trails that we were going for, you actually had to do some trail riding, which, you know, you guys have gone down south before, so you've had to experience that some. But this was my first venture down south, so I was really surprised that everyone was like,
You weren't even down south yet.
"Well, you know what I mean, though." Like
There wasn't
everyone's
that much
"Yeah, no."
trail riding either in the grand scheme
No,
of things. There's more at Roush.
For me, that was quite a bit of trail riding, because, you know, up here it's just you go right out of the fucking gate and it's right there.
That's true.
Yeah.
Fair.
One negative I will say for me is that you cannot open up in that park. It is a lawless land, but you cannot go fast there.
No,
And that's a major concern. Why?
because Luke's like to go fast.
Yeah,
Luke's
you
really
literally
not built
rode
to
with
get
me at
fast.
Roush.
And my back still hurts to this day.
My back's fine.
Cody got the blown out seat.
And doesn't mean you could.
He got the better seat. Morgan normally sits over there, and she's like 120 pounds.
But
Yeah,
either way,
it's-
why did that really take a notch down for the park because
Well,
you couldn't
I mean,
go fast?
he couldn't go
No,
fast
I'm-
anyways because his Jeep wasn't running right.
We'll get to
as
that, too.
usual, but I digress.
We'll get there when we get there.
Was it the same problem?
Uh-huh.
So you got lazy, thought you fixed it, didn't fix it? Is that what we're getting at here?
Uh-huh.
Aw,
was very sad.
I mean,
Luke.
I
You're
mean,
gonna
I let
blow
it.
that motor up again doing that, right?
Listen, I literally let the thing run for 2 hours and then redlined it and drove it around. Like, I didn't think that there was a problem anymore because it was warmed up, it was behaving. You know, like
we
I
knew
can't
that
really
it only did it under load when it
I know,
was
so
redlining
that's
under
why I-
load.
like
And
drove it around.
In his defense, it was doing totally fine. Like for
all day Friday.
a solid day.
Well,
And then-
I wouldn't think it was all day Friday, but it was definitely more than half of our day on Friday. It was totally fine.
You know, like I'm sorry I couldn't like go through and test more than that. Like
It seems like, Luke, that it finally started acting up after I had hopped in with you and you gave it the beans like that one time.
Uh-huh.
Like after that, fucking just it wouldn't go anywhere.
no, and
Yep.
but that's still getting ahead because there's a lot more
Oh,
to cover
yeah.
here.
Okay, sorry.
So, anyways, we get there, unloaded my Jeep, and I had the broken link bolt to take care of, which was bent and like all mangled. So, got that taken care of pretty quick. Not a lot of effort other than some creative strap rigging between me and Richie. And JB's M18, and we had that link bolt socked in there real good.
Mm-hmm.
So we were ready to go. We headed out with the group, which
You're forgetting that Graham couldn't start his Jeep at first.
I am forgetting that.
What did you do now, Graham?
All right, so past couple
Brought a
trips
shit box to Virginia.
doesn't even run. So past couple trips, if I've let it sit for a couple weeks and try to start it, it would do this thing where it wouldn't start with the key, like just nothing. You'd turn the key and nothing would happen. But then if you kept turning it, it would eventually start. I didn't really think anything of it. We were sitting there. We get to Pennsylvania or to West Virginia, and I go to start the thing, it just won't start. I do the usual like turn the key a couple extra times, still nothing. Richie was standing there laughing at me because I literally just kept turning the key over and over.
I watched him turn the key at least 100 times, and the whole time he's just staring at me with this face like, if you fucking laugh, I'm going to kill you. And I was trying so hard to not fucking laugh.
Yeah, and it was at this point that Luke wanders over with Colton and his whole crew, and they're like, "Yeah, look at this shitbox. It won't even start." So now I'm under pressure to get the thing to fucking run. And I think he mentioned neutral safety switch, and then I remembered that my neutral safety switch wires are just twisted together, and they're corroded. So I wiped the corrosion off and twisted them a little more, and boom, started right up, and we're good.
Yeah.
I mean that makes sense. I mean Luke has had that issue before with the whole
Yeah, I mean I really should just butt connector them and call it a day, but the twist has worked really well. It probably won't start tomorrow.
No, you don't
but
butt can. I mean,
why wouldn't I butt connect?
No. Just I was thinking you were talking about like the wire nuts. Sorry, I had a quick brain fart. My apologies.
I mean, a wire nut would probably be better than what it's got now.
Yeah, but like no,
Dang it, I don't know how the fuck it's held on because it's been like that for years. Like since I did the swap, and I've always meant to, change it to something more rigid, like put it on a switch to be cool, or just like butt connector it, like I said, to make it waterproof and not rot the wires out. And I just haven't done it. It's been 4 years and it hasn't given me shit, so I didn't really think of it. And all of a sudden it's rotted and now we have problems. So
I mean, to be fair, it did get a lot of fucking water on it.
Yeah.
Yep. On the ride down?
Yeah.
It was
You guys
wet.
had issues with rain or something?
Yeah, it was like
Issues. We were getting like storm warnings for the North Shore when we had left. Like we were going into a storm and multiple waves of it passed us. Fortunately, like a third of the way through it let up and it wasn't as bad, but like for a solid 4 hours it was pitch black. My headlights are just stock ass fucking headlights. Just
when
driving into torrential downpour in the dark. It was fun.
When me and Graham hopped in the truck to leave, we were both fucking drenched.
Yep.
Holy shit.
Yep.
Typical. Anytime you plan on driving through Pennsylvania, it's gonna fucking rain on you.
Yeah.
And of course,
to Pennsylvania.
on, and I couldn't because it was soaked because I threw my hoodie onto the shop floor in the one spot that the water fucking pulls up.
Oh no. Well, that sounds like a you issue. I mean, like, come on.
Yeah, it
Come on,
was
Richie.
definitely you. It was definitely a me issue.
Yeah, you
I
should
was-
have your shit on the ground. Floor's nasty anyways.
Yeah, who puts their shit on the shop floor? What is that?
Well, I didn't care about it getting nasty. I cared about it getting wet.
And it did both.
Yeah.
Sure did.
So we get to the park, right? And all that. After we fix his Jeep not running, everything's going pretty good. Colton and Nathan and Nathan's father, whose name escapes me, came over and they're like chit-chatting with us. And so we head out to the spot called the Honey Hole, which it's like the comp course at Roush, but you feed the comp course at Roush a little bit of Wheaties and you make it natural. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it was. You could
Yeah.
probably spend a whole day just like doing shit in that area.
God.
What?
Yeah.
And you guys, I don't know if you guys saw the backside of that either, because you guys might have still been sleeping / fixing your shit Saturday morning.
I don't think I saw it.
The backside of that is fucking insane.
So we got down there, and Colton's running around on his stickies with Nate on his stickies as well, and they're just doing stupid lines and stuff. And he's like, "Hey, buddy, I got a line I want you to follow me through." Well, my wheelbase denied me because I was just long enough that I could get the front differential to fall onto a rock while the rear was climbing, and there was just like no way around it. So it's kind of like a V wedge, if you will. And I ended up trying to go up the far right side and cut over hard left to like slam into the bottom of this V. And it just did not go my way. I almost flopped the rig in the first, like, what, 5 minutes of being there
Yeah,
on the trail.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
I didn't actually see that go down. I mean, I know the obstacle you were on, but I didn't see it because I was sitting there trying to fix my steering box, which suddenly started fucking pissing out of the cap when I turned the wheel.
Oh.
So
That was
right when Luke was about to flop over was right when me and you were going up that obstacle, Graham.
that was when
Oh,
everyone
gotcha.
yelled, "Oh!" as I was about to flop it, and I ended up catching reverse just in time. But like, it was one of those situations
You know
where
who
I
didn't
was.
catch reverse? Ram.
We'll get to that. Uh, so like, we're out and about partying and whatnot in this place, and it's going pretty good for me at least. I was having a ton of fun, and um, there was another obstacle where like it was just I can
We-
only describe it as. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was totally interjecting. Keep going.
I can describe this obstacle best as someone throwing 3 foot rocks on the ground, like throwing quarters. You know, they were just like, or pennies on the ground. They were all over the fucking place. And so I'm in there, and I end up hopping up on this like 6 foot tall boulder, just giving it the fucking beans. Full blown smoke show, sitting on rev limiter for about 30 seconds, getting them all warmed up. And then I just casually backed up about, I don't know, 2 feet or a foot, dropped it into first and crawled over it, and that kind of set the pace for me for the rest of the weekend.
Was that at Rubicon? Are you already there?
No, that was at Honey Hole.
Oh, you were still in
Well,
Honey Hole. Okay.
yeah, we haven't even gotten there, and we got to cover Cripple Creek and all that stuff
Oh, true.
too.
I forgot that happened first. Oh man.
There's a lot going on here.
I know. We never did the squeeze. I know we got there and like we gotta send Graham through the squeeze, and I don't even think I saw the squeeze. Oh no, we did. We were over there,
You
but
saw
it
it
was
in the
yeah, but it was too dark to or not that it was too dark, but we were all hungry, so we opted to gather firewood and bail. But anyway,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. So let's see. Do you want to talk about your little misadventures with Honey Hole, or do you want to just head over to?
I didn't. Yeah, I
Cripple
didn't really
Creek?
have much to report from Honey Hole. I mean, there was a line that I was gonna do, and then they ended up having that steering box issue, which I've had before. So initially, when they said I was leaking power steering fluid, I was scared because I thought I blew a line. I got one line with one spot that's a little questionable that I need to replace. I just haven't yet. So I was concerned that I'd blown a line and that was going to be the end of my weekend right then and there, or I'd probably just shorten it in all reality because it's near the end. But I was scared that that was going to be a whole shit show to fix. Fortunately, it was just the
I
top of
also
the
had spare lines.
what?
I had spare lines.
Oh, perfect. So it would have been fun.
Yeah.
But fortunately, it was just the top of the box, which is an issue that I had before. I definitely have tightened them. I don't know why they loosened back up. Initially, when I put that box in, I had forgotten to tighten the back two bolts or something, or the front two. I forget which ones, and it had leaked out of there. So I'm sure the seal's compromised. I just need to pull the box at this point and throw a new top seal in. But tightened it back up, and it stopped leaking profusely. It was still leaking throughout the week, but I sort of just ignored it and filled it up when it needed it. By the end
Yep.
end of the
Wasn't that
weekend,
bad.
it was doing I was noticing it. Richie, I think, was with me, and I had to jump out and top it off because it was screaming. But at that
Yeah,
point, I didn't have a
review
rear
for
drive
that one.
shaft, and it was, not my highest priority. So, um,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, uh, not. I wish we had had more time to play in Honey Hole, and I would have on Sunday if I had not slept through half the day because of not sleeping for
Saturday.
2 days. But
I
yeah,
kept
I
offering.
sorry, go ahead, Richie.
I kept offering.
Um,
So
I
For
forgot to
you to
mention
drive?
that.
What were you offering?
To drive the truck down so Graham didn't
Oh,
go
oh, oh, gotcha.
40 hours with no sleep.
That's normal. What do you mean?
Yeah, kind of. I forgot to mention this, but another fun incident was about 20 minutes into being there, I almost rolled it again coming out of Honey Hole because I went up this ledge and there was a 12-foot like diameter boulder. So I had to turn around using this huge ass boulder with Tony spotting me, and this is going to be a common theme, and I'm already going to apologize, but Tony, we'll get you spotting better soon, bud. Um, and so I went up it, and like the rear end was just hanging out like a good 3 feet in the air as I just tried to get this thing turned around. It was great. Let's see. The trail that leads to Cripple Creek is one of the few spots that I was actually able to go fast because the group had really gotten pretty decently far ahead of me, so I was banging limiter in third on that trail. I don't know how.
you got to be careful of doing that. It doesn't end well.
Well, that's a story for later.
Yeah, there's all these stories for later. What are we gonna tell him, Luke?
Well,
this
we
is
haven't
like
even
the
gotten to
what are
Cripple
we giving
Creek
him
yet.
the play by play? Like, where's the highlight
Yeah.
reel here? But yeah,
No, the play-by-play is fucking good enough, man. There was plenty of shit that went down there.
we're building all this. There's all this suspense.
Don't say
here.
it. Don't say it, Graham.
I'm allowed to say it now.
You are. But yeah, so Cripple Creek is a really cool trail, and it's something that if you wheeled New England, you're never gonna get to really experience. Essentially,
Not true. Again, battlegrounds.
Battlegrounds, yes, but not quite the same level, if you
No,
will.
I argue that. I definitely argue that because the water added traction.
I don't know. Maybe.
What?
It's definitely a you wouldn't you probably wouldn't be able to wheel up something like that in New England, but battlegrounds when there's a lot of water on that one trail up a creek or whatever.
Oh yeah.
It can be about the same. I remember going up that in my Jeep, I think before it even had the cage, and the door was flapping around, and there was water rushing down that. That was way early on in that trail's life. It's changed a ton. It used to be a little harder, and there was a bunch of water.
That trail
but-
used to be a ton of fun. I'm just saying used to because I haven't put tire
Yeah,
on it.
it's
in almost 2
it's still
years now.
fun. The beginning part is more fun than the actual waterfall portion now because the waterfall portion, all the rocks have sort of rolled into optimum spots for getting up. But I still like that first bit. We have to take that 90-degree in, and there's that like one spot that's kind of sketchy where it threatens to tip you down the waterfall. But anyways, yeah, this is not about battlegrounds. But that's a
continue to
really
be
great
referenced.
comparison because the way that the trails are set up is very similar.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically you're going up a creek, like inlaid in the ground here at Cripple Creek, and there's a handful of really neat little spots.
Yeah.
To get up through there. We actually did that one twice, the whole way through.
All running water too.
Yeah. And to Richie's point, I do think I agree because it keeps a lot of the mud from building up on the rocks. It definitely helps with traction.
Oh
But
yeah.
other hand, I'm gonna throw another counterpoint that I really fucking noticed back at you, Richie. I could not get my tires warm. They were
Well,
water cooled.
you
Like,
could not get your tires warm, but traditionally up here in New England, it's common knowledge. If everything is wet, you're going to have a bad time.
well,
But
yes.
it seemed like genuinely that any rocks that had flowing water over them, everyone just their tires just bit right on and they went up
Yeah.
with
See,
like minimum wheel spin.
So there's a couple of really cool points, and one of my favorite points on that trail was there's a section about a quarter of the way up it where it's a big slab face that you have to go up with an undercut leading into it.
Oh, that first
And
like real obstacle on it.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
super cool, dude. Like I like that type of shit a lot. And so I ended up spotting, and oh, was it? Yeah, it was Nathan. You remember that? That was fucking great with the
Was
broken control
Nathan
arm.
Okay, so
Red
Nathan,
XJ.
Red XJ, yeah.
So he had an Iron Man suspension set up
Iron
on
Rock.
there.
It's that
Or
Iron
Iron
Rock, the
Rock, sorry.
notorious Y link that everybody hates, uh, with that weird upper thing. And I don't think that's
Weird
what broke.
upper thing.
I don't know how to
Oh,
describe it. It's this adjustable piece that they give you, and I guess he had changed it,
he had
and
broken it once before, so he made his own bracket by setting the axle at the right caster and then welding up a set of like mounts to hold the axle, so it was a fixed adjuster.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he tore the upper link off
which is weird because the
in
whole thing
there.
was attached. It must have just ripped right at the part that was attached
It
to that.
ripped the. It looks like he burned it in hot because it ripped the area under the weld out. Not like a cold weld where it broke the weld, but like a hot weld where it took the chunks of metal with it.
Hmm.
Weird.
So his front axle, when I walk up there, as he's giving it gas, it's rotating the pinion up, and as he's trying to back up, it's rotating the pinion down.
It was quite funny to watch, and I know Graham knows all about that life too.
He does know a thing or two about it. So we ended up getting this XJ that was wounded off to the side and running everyone through there. And I gotta give JB a lot of credit because he took the furthest right line and hung a good 5, 6 feet in the air with the driver's tire coming through there with a little bit of coaxing.
Oh, he
And
couldn't see what was happening. We were just like, "You're good, just keep going."
yeah,
Because it
Well,
was.
you
I mean,
know-
it was stable, but it was up in the air.
That seemed to be a common occurrence for JB the whole weekend. Having
Well,
a tire.
I mean, that's just
stupidly
what
hot.
happens when you
yeah,
max
look
out
at
your suspension travel and put it in a weird spot like that. Like, there's just no way for
Yeah.
that to act different in that situation. He had the thing totally twisted up in the
like that
back.
reel that I shared on my Insta. You can clearly see that it's, just the suspension's limited, so it's pulling a tire because that's what it's doing. Um, but we all got up that section. Graham flew up it because you were in front of me, right? Yeah, you were in front of
Yep.
me.
Yeah.
You flew up it in 2 shots. I got up on there and I got kind of close to getting it the first shot just from like crawling into it and then trying to bump it, but I had kind of messed up my calculation for where the Jeep was going to go when I launched it. So I had to kind of choose a different line a little bit and reposition my nose further to the driver's side because it kept trying to throw me passenger. And after a good solid bump, it went up that.
Well, passenger was where you wanted to be. The more passenger you were, the better off you were. Like, I
Trying to
remember
go
when we
further.
went through there again that next day.
Fucking everybody put their passenger up on that rock.
I was channeling my inner Cody for that one.
Good man.
And
Good man.
just trying to go for a line that I knew my Jeep could make, and I wanted to try.
I'll fuck with it.
You know, like I've got confidence in the rig. I don't have confidence in the fuel pump, but you know, that's another story for another time. So I'm gonna kind of turn this over to Graham because I think you would be able to tell the next sequence of events a little bit better, or maybe even Richie in this case.
You're talking about the second half of it where we were waiting on those guys to get out of the way.
Yeah, and where you guys were struggling, because I'm pretty sure Richie was riding with you, and then I almost flop.
Oh, you're talking about the log.
That was great.
Yeah, well, yeah, the log was dumb. I was getting caught up, couldn't get over this log and this rock that just had all my tires in weird spots, so I couldn't get the traction to get up it. Of course, Colton had got up it just fine with the stickies and his low YJ.
Totally did not realize that he had stickies the whole time either.
Oh
I
yeah,
totally,
that thing's sneaky. It like
I
it
totally
doesn't
forgot.
look like much. You look at it, you're like under leaf under axle, not much going on to the body and just stickies, and it fucking works. Like you don't need to spend a bunch of money on stupid shit. Like just
Yeah.
he's bottoming his axles out and stuff, but it doesn't matter. I don't know what axles he's gotten that. I'm sure he said that in his
44
podcast.
9.
44 and 9. Yeah, and that's
So-
really like he doesn't really need to bump it that much either. I mean, the only time I saw him get a little more aggressive was when he was bellying out, not bellying, but like just bottoming out his axles and stuff on things. But that's just par for the course with a smaller set of tires, and you can completely compensate for that. And his wheelbase is small enough that it's just it does things a lot different than your cookie cutter vehicle on SUV, I guess, on 1 tons, right? With the stretch for the wheelbase to make the optimal wheelbase to make everything look stupid easy and all that stuff that everybody talks about, right?
What is his wheelbase? Do we know?
I'm not sure.
I think he's stretched a little bit. If I remember correctly, it's somewhere around 100.
Nice. Okay.
But still pretty small. I mean, compared to Luke's Jeep, my Jeep, JB's Jeep, it's a smaller wheelbase. His footprint is smaller. It just things that work for him don't necessarily work for us, or in my case, me at all. I was getting hung up on weird stuff on this rock on the passenger side and that log, like I said, and I ended up getting like spit out by like pivoting passenger, I think, and scooting around. But either way,
Yeah.
that one caused me problems. And then Luke comes in sorry, Richie. He comes in, next and knows I'd been having problems on it, so he comes in hot with the skinny pedal. I forget what exactly you did to twist that log, but he just basically deleted the log from the obstacle, and then it was easy, and everybody else made it up without any problems.
Before he deleted the log, though, he was like halfway up the fucking bank, and he's just looking
That's right.
and he's like, what the fuck am I doing, guys? What am I hung up on? So I ran down to him because he couldn't hear anybody. And I ended up popping my head in through the passenger window, and I ended up looking up at him like, whoa, I didn't realize it was this fucking sideways.
So, like, he sticks his head in the window, and he's looking up at me, and I'm turning my head down, or like, just straight to the side to look at him, and he's got his head fully up. So, like,
I had to rotate my body a little bit so just that way I could pivot my head up enough to look at him.
so, like, I think what was keeping me from going over was the fucking passenger front rim.
It was a tiny little rock holding your front rim.
How tiny are we talking?
Like maybe a foot tall and like a foot and a half long.
Rip. Get fucked, Graham.
Well, no, so Graham, I think, was diffing out on that rock, whereas
Yeah, he was dragging his axle tube into it.
Luke went high enough up the bank to where his sidewall slammed into that rock.
Oh.
So, I mean, Luke was a good, like, 2.5 feet further driver than Graham was
Like,
at all.
Because passenger was where I was getting hung up.
Yeah. And I don't remember exactly what you did, Luke, to get out of that situation, but you pretty much just, if I remember right, you straightened your wheel and got the bead off of the rock, and then you just nutted it and it went.
Which is the story for how I was driving that entire weekend.
When you went, you spit the log down off the bank, and
right into the hole.
It made the perfect ramp for everyone else to just pop right up it, making Graham look like an idiot.
Yeah, it was great. So I ended up dipping out there. I don't know what else happened past that point because there was a group of buggies that were broken in front of us.
Yeah, so it ended up being Graham, Colton, and JB in their rigs, along with myself. And the buggies finally started to move as everyone else was like, fuck this shit, we're going back to the cabin.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone bailed, and we just kind of waited the extra like 5-10 minutes for them to all move.
Colton and these are some Georgia boys, and they all had their fancy shiny Jeeps. I mean, some of them seemed like they, had some wheeling experience, but I mean,
others did not.
We're talking brand new stickies, like some thousands of dollars worth of tune or an LS or something. These guys had some money, and it wasn't helping them that much. We were watching this one dude. He had this, this LJ with an LS on, I don't know what they were, IROCs. They were calling them SXs, but those were definitely fucking IROCs. I don't know what the...
Somebody got fucked in the bottom.
Yeah, pretty much. Is what my thought process there. And this one dude, I swear, you have the big block, or not the big block, the LS, and he's getting on the throttle, he'll make it like up the first like tiny bit of the obstacle, and then he'll let off and roll all the way the fuck back down. It's like, what are you doing? Just stay, like, you just need to commit and you'll make it up these obstacles. And it was, he was hanging things up. I hate to throw shade at people, but like, I don't know, it just, all that money into something that just wasn't working because of driver issues.
It's 100% fine to throw shade at someone if they bought in but didn't get the skill set to go with it.
Fair.
So, I will stand.
Oh, also they were definitely fucking just, I don't know if they were hammered, but they were definitely several beers deep because they'd been sitting waiting for their buddy to I forget, he broke an axle shaft. I don't know how. You didn't need any throttle for that shit. That's the other thing. Like, just
go in, Graham.
And this is
tell us how it is, man.
Like, and this is coming directly from Chris and Mikey, because when we were at Roush, it sort of dawned on me that my tires grab way more when I'm not hammering on the fucking throttle. Like 99% of the time we were at Roush, if I wanted to hit something and actually make it up it, I'd be spinning them a little bit, doing what I have just generally done traditionally for the past few years, and they were like, just crawl it and see what it does. And I've been sitting in the same spot, not making any progress, and then I let the wheels just do what they're trying to do, and it will go right up. It's the strangest thing, but at least with the Razors, that's sort of how it's been since I put them on. And I just, none of those obstacles, both, because we did both sides. One side the first day, and one time the next day we went through there again with the rest of the group. And we did both sides, and there was never a point in time where I felt like I needed to absolutely hammer on the thing, or felt like I needed an LS to get through there. You just didn't. Like.
Oh, so you did hammer it, though, on the first day?
Oh, yeah, because I could. The second day I didn't have an option. But...
Yeah. No, but it was while that guy was dicking around, bouncing from the left side to the right side and everything, or the right side to
Oh,
the
that's
left
right.
side.
The side I did the first day, I did hammer on it, but I put myself in the correct spot, knew that it was slick and that I needed a little bit more wheel speed than I was going to get from normal just putzing around, and I made a calculated bump and got right up. It wasn't like me just getting in there all fucked up and spinning, which is fun too to some extent. Don't get me wrong.
No,
But
but Graham,
was
the part that you're missing though is you bumped it right up onto your fucking belly.
well, that was that wasn't from the bump. That was just me dropping down past the obstacle in a weird way because I wasn't sure if we were going left or going right. So my dumb ass dropped straight in and bellied out on the side of the fucking hill, pretty much. Thanks,
Quick
Richie.
question: was
I can always
Anthony
count
the
on you.
one with the black shirt and the gloves? First day.
Yes.
Okay. Now I just trying to get reference on who you guys were saying was similar.
Oh yeah,
No.
yeah. We mentioned it just to for listeners understanding here. Before we started, we made a comment that Anthony and Cody have a very similar mannerism and just enthusiasm about things. It was pretty funny. We had like a new Cody. We didn't have real Cody, but we had new Cody, so it was fun.
Well, thank you, Anthony, for filling in my spot. Appreciate it.
Well, so after we winched Graham off of his belly, though, JB came up to the same obstacle, and he just started hammering it, trying to go up it.
With his
And
race tires, right?
Yeah.
The race tires.
They are race tires, to be
I know,
fair.
we were making fun of him for him the whole weekend.
But I had him back up to reposition his nose a little bit. I was like, all right, just, I was about to tell him to just try giving it a gentle bump when he just fucking dropped the hammer and launched it. I had to run behind a fucking tree. All the meanwhile, he's pulling his passenger tire like 5 feet in the fucking air, and he just launches himself sideways. And somehow it worked. Like, that's the part that doesn't, like, I can't
because
compute.
race tire. It's
Yeah,
not a
it's
sticky,
race tire.
but it's stickier than a DOT.
No, it's a sticky. It's a
No,
sticky.
no,
those
no.
are
It's a
sticky.
race tire.
AR3s they're
They're
considered
a
red
race
label.
They are
tire.
sticky.
What are they
They
sticking
are-
to? The sand? They just have to float on the sand. They don't have
No,
to stick
they
to
are
the
a
sand.
Sticky, mister. They are a sticky.
Yeah, no, but they're
Yeah, they're
not
a
the same
sticky.
as reds.
Yes, they are.
No,
They're almost the
not.
same
They're the
compound, I
same
think.
No, they're not.
they're the same tread composition, just
Mhm.
different tread pattern.
I don't think they are. It's a race tire. Totally
Let's put
different.
it this way: if they felt red labels were stickier,
All right, I know
why-
we have rockaholics listening who run these fucking things. Are they race
Just
tires or are they stickies? Tell
Just
me.
hear me out.
Let me
Grant.
know.
If you're telling me that a race team could have more grip on a red label than a KR3, why wouldn't they run?
Well, there's a
fucking red
reason
label?
people are not using those and still using crawlers, the red label crawlers, and not the red label fucking checkerboards. Like, they're not the same. It's not the same shit. It's a race tire. We had this conversation the whole fucking weekend.
tomato.
They
It's
don't
the
need to
same
be
thing.
as soft because they're going 100 miles an hour through sand. Do you want your gumballs to rip off your,
I
your
promise
rig
you,
in a
any
mile?
racer-
Or
every racer listening is so upset with you.
I'm
saying that
sure they
don't
are,
drive
and
through
I
sand.
want to. If they are, I want to hear it because I mean this is pure ignorance on my part if that's the case, and that's totally fine. I will own up to it, but it's a race tire, not a sticky. So, but yeah,
sure.
that's why he was racing up it because he needed to go fast because it was a
Yeah,
race tire.
I just, it still doesn't make sense to me, the actual line he ended up taking, because it shouldn't have worked. Like, it just straight up should not have worked.
Well, was he
He should-
more on that right side with all the bigger sort of boulders that I kind of like?
So he started out on as far left as you could without hitting the trees.
Oh, well, that's a problem because that's all
He-
undercut to try to give, some visualization to this obstacle. Is there were some large boulders on the right side, but the left side was undercut and a decent vertical bit. Nothing crazy. Like you could probably bump it up with a bouncer, but not in a regular ass fucking JK buggy thing or a Cherokee. You have to kind of straddle both to get up past that and then bump it.
So he launched it up the far left side, he ended up sideways in the middle of it, like the middle of going up it. He was sideways, and then he just kind of slowly curved left again and made it.
Oh, well, I mean, sometimes throttle works.
He
Sometimes.
came out on the left side of the rock that you bellied out on.
Well, I mean, his Jeep is way taller than mine, and the suspension sits taller, so I would hope he doesn't belly out in a JK platform.
The rock that you bellied out on, he was to the left of it. His passenger tires were on the rock that you bellied out on.
How the hell? There were like trees over there.
I know.
Oh, wait. His race lights in the rear match his race tires, guys.
Exactly.
It makes
He's
sense.
building a race JK with a rear
Dude.
3-link, not trailing arms, because those are lame.
Exactly. That's not real rock crawler of him, okay? He can't do that.
Yeah. Poor Chief.
But I'm watching videos right now. I am so excited for next year if we go back, which I'm hoping we do because this property looks super fucking fun.
Oh, it's gorgeous, and the trails are really fun.
We are most definitely going to be going back. We have to.
I really want to move the Labor Day weekend to that.
I'd be down. 100%. I'd be down.
I would rather see it be a different weekend, just that way I have an easier time of going.
Yeah, you always do. We know. We're sorry. Okay, Richie, we're sorry. We know.
You were just telling me how you had like 5 weeks of vacation.
Me?
No, Richie on the way back from
Well, then use them. bitch.
5 weeks of vacation from work, not from my family, asshole.
You got all the
Bring
time.
the whole
you can just
family.
leave. Richie, you can just leave, dude. You can take all the vacation time you want. I mean, granted, it's probably not the best idea. You know, the government might come and ask some money from you every once in a while, but you can leave. Nobody's keeping you there. Well, Jess might chase you down and kill you, but it's fine.
Yeah,
Well,
Sure.
just bring Justin and the kid, right? I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
so the reason
that would
I'm-
definitely be a good place to take them, though.
Yeah, it'd
So,
be a ton
like,
of fun.
Part of the reason I'm saying that, though, is if we, as the Blue Collar Off-Road group, wanted to get a cabin, we could just get a cabin and split it across for everyone and their girlfriends to come down. And I'm going to throw this back to a previous discussion where we were talking about, like, the cost of wheeling Roush. Dude, it cost me $175 for the whole weekend at Good Evening.
Yeah, well,
With a cabin.
No, so Luke, to put it in even more perspective, because that was $174 if you had a rig, but at Roush you pay the same amount no matter what, right?
Yeah, you have to buy a membership even if you're a passenger.
Exactly. So me as a passenger, I was $124 whole fucking weekend. It was my portion of the cabin.
At Virginia, it costs you $124 for the whole weekend.
Yeah, that was my
Including the
portion of
cabin.
cabin rental.
How much is the cabin rental per person?
124.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Cody.
And we're talking we're talking a
holy
kitchen,
fuck.
a fridge, like
Full amenities. It was climate controlled cabin, multiple bedrooms. There was a washer and dryer in there with 2 bathrooms, a
they had
shower.
they did have 2 bathrooms. Yep. Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, the washer and dryer had a shitter in it.
Yep. And then even if you wanted to rough camp it, they have, I think the rough camping was like $25 a night. But for $25 a night, you get a full restroom with showers with fucking scalding hot water.
Oh,
Yeah.
Didn't they have a whole shower house?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, they have a full bathroom assembly separate from the cabin. That's where I went to go and shower just because, like, there were other people around. So, like, I'm self-conscious about that.
Yeah, he didn't want his butt getting touched.
Yeah.
So he goes to the public shower?
Yeah. Well, no one was there.
Yeah, he's trying to get touched by a man he doesn't know. Duh. The fuck?
Yeah.
Sorry for
that's
you
totally
being
cool.
straight, Luke. You fucking
Um,
weirdo.
But so
But,
like that's the biggest difference for me, Cody, is just the fact that if I went to Roush for the same amount of time as a passenger, I'd have to spend a few $100s. Whereas for the same amount of time,
But
I was
yeah,
$124.
You know,
It's
if
pretty
you are
cheap.
bringing... Sorry. Go ahead, Cody.
No, I was just gonna say, honestly, with seeing these trails and seeing how much you guys enjoyed it and seeing how much there is to offer from this place and for the price, I don't blame you one fucking bit for wanting to switch up the weekend.
Yeah.
And Cody, like my Jeep and your Jeep would still be able to run all the same trails. We would just have to go around a couple of the bigger obstacles.
Oh yeah, there are plenty
Yeah,
of Jeeps on. I mean, I don't think any of those were stock, but
No,
Yeah,
plenty of
I think
smaller
it-
rigs all making
37.
it through things. And I mean, the traction is very similar to what we have in New England. If I had to compare it to anything, it wasn't like Roush, it wasn't Sandpaper Rocks, but it wasn't.
It was very close to New England level traction.
Yeah,
Another point that I'm going to throw out there is, right, like, if you're bringing your girlfriend to go to Roush or to go to Good Evening, the cost ends up being cheaper to go to Good Evening. And it pays the extra fuel just about.
Yeah, because it's what, an extra 4 hours to this place instead of Roush?
you basically just drive a little further through Pennsylvania and then through some fucking gnarly hills in Maryland of all fucking places. God, I did not expect to go through Maryland, and I didn't expect the biggest hills to be in Maryland.
We
The fuck?
we went through. I think it was. Sorry, I think it was like around 50 miles worth of Maryland.
God damn. I, don't even think
And it-
I went
it
to
was
Baltimore
either-
and I don't think I've been through that much of Maryland.
it was no. Going through Maryland, it was either you're going up a steep ass hill or you're going down a steep ass hill. There was no flat at all.
Unfortunately, it was early as fuck in the morning, so nobody was on the road. So me and my slug of a fucking truck, we're just bombing down these things and just gliding up them. And at this point, I'm like half delusional from
mind you-
driving for 8 hours. So we're just sort of, taking those turns, sliding down, going up. It was working good. It was-
Which,
Hold on
mind
a
you,
second.
we were going considerably faster than what Graham thought we were.
yeah, apparently my speedo's off by like 10 miles an hour. So,
Oh
Like
we're
10,
going-
15
so I
miles
was
an
thinking
hour.
like 70, but apparently I was going like 80 down these things.
That same mountain range, Graham, that you're going through in Maryland to get there, I'm coming through in West Virginia because I spend more time in West Virginia than I do in Virginia. And I was reaching up and tapping the truck like, you're doing good. It's okay, baby.
I didn't even.
Graham did the same thing.
I didn't. Did I tap it? Oh,
Yes, you did. Because remember, I told
Oh, that's
you,
right.
Graham, I
You
used
told
to
me not
tap
to-
my truck in the same spot.
Question for you guys.
Dude,
I'm here watching the videos, and is this a 24 valve cantilever suspension TJ that I'm?
that we haven't
Yes.
even gotten there
What
yet.
the-
even showed up yet.
Fuck, dude! What
Yeah,
the
that
fuck
thing was
is this?
rowdy.
Okay.
That thing was
What
fucking
is he,
rowdy.
Kevin? Is this Kevin?
No, that's not.
No, that
Oh.
that was his
That was
brother,
Gage.
or
Can we talk to
Gage,
Gage?
yeah.
Can we talk to Gage? Because this thing, I need to
Gage,
just
I
ask a lot
already
of questions.
I've already started talking to Gage while we were there about that, and he sounded cool with doing it.
My only
So-
concern is with the rig like this: is he inbred? Because this thing is insane, but it's probably still fun. You know?
No, he's
Okay.
he's what was it? A a heavy equipment operator that works through his own business, but it's also part of a union. So
He
that-
lives on Marketplace, and that motor came out of a truck that he bought for really cheap, from what he was saying. So it's just that's what went in it. And it was
This is-
super cool.
The fact that the
Like-
cantilever setup even works well enough in rock crawling, and it's
Oh, it
packed
gets
Oh, it
weirder.
does.
so fucking well.
I mean, you
so it's a
need it.
YJ to
It's
clarify,
got a
right?
24 valve and a YJ. There's
It's
nowhere to
weirder.
put anything. You need to cantilever that shit.
Yeah,
It's
that's
got-
what he was saying, was that the cantilever was a necessity. He couldn't have front suspension without it.
And not to
Hang on,
mention,
I'm going to
the
cover this in a
multiplication
second. It
of.
gets-
Are you going to talk about why cantilevers are so important, or how they're little?
No,
the
the
fancy
fact
features?
that it gets weirder.
Okay,
The
go
front
for it.
14 bolt is built to match the rear cabin chassis 14 bolt. So the cantilevers are necessary because it's too fucking narrow. So he's got like 3-inch wheel spacers on it,
Yeah,
What the
front and
he,
rear.
he
Yeah,
has
it's clear.
He's got some honking wheel spacer.
I didn't know
Um,
that.
And then he's got fucking trailer spindle fucking bearings to run the cantilevers.
I was just about to ask, what is the pivot system? It's a trailer bearing?
Yeah, it's a fucking trailer bearing.
That's
Dude,
hilarious.
I need to like pick this dude's brain. Like, do we know what his his spring rate is on those? Because with the cantilever, you
Fucking
have to be
chonky.
Well,
He's
it's-
running. If I
no,
remember
because they'd have to be
correctly-
light.
No, he's running like 250 over 400.
Jesus fuck.
That's not too
That's
bad.
cool. No, well,
you,
because
you
cantilever
also got to remember
suspension-
how
It's got a
heavy that
24
motor.
or a 12 valve in the front. It needs
Do you know why
beefy springs. That's
cantilever was
actually relatively light.
so Graham? The reason why cantilever suspension works so well, and they actually used it originally in F1 cars because the down travel that, or not down travel, pardon me, the
Yeah,
downforce
you get more
that-
travel out of the shock because
No,
you can.
shut the fuck up. No.
Okay.
Let me tell the story. So they designed cantilever suspension back in F1 cars when they first were really, really engineering downforce, because the amount of downforce that they needed to put the grip down to the tires was so exponential that they didn't have current technology to put the proper suspension into it to keep it from just bottoming out. So cantilever suspension was designed, yes, better, like you can package it differently and all that, but you can also multiply the spring rate by then adding a fulcrum point.
Yeah,
So that's-
which is basically
that's
what I was going
part
to
of
say
it.
before you rudely cut me off.
It's crazy. I was telling the story
But
first
yeah,
though, like
yeah.
get fucked. I don't know.
No, it's cool. You can get more travel and what you said out of a cantilever, which it's similar with trailing arms, right? I'm pretty sure you can, because I don't know. I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
No,
so to summarize, though, in a normal rig, like, if we threw a cantilever on a Cherokee, you'd be able to get away with using lighter spring rates and whatnot and still achieving the
And
same
a smaller one,
amount
probably.
Yeah.
because you're dealing with comparable weights.
But
but
really good person to
instead
talk with
of-
about. Sorry, go ahead, Richie. My bad.
Instead of having like a 4.0 or whatever in the front of that thing, he's got a fucking 24 valve.
12 valve.
What is
Well,
the curve? What is the
I
curve
thought it
there?
was 24.
No, it's a 12.
Well,
Oh, well,
it's
either
a
way,
first gen motor.
he's got a fucking 12 valve in that thing.
yeah, which
And
is.
So,
that weighs how much more than a
I was
fucking
skeptical at
4.0?
first. I was like,
About twice.
Do you know dry? They are 1,100 pounds.
yes,
Yeah, so it's about
Exactly.
twice.
that poor
Really
white.
So you
interesting.
still need to have that stupid high spring rate for it to just simply support the weight of that motor and the chassis. Because that chassis's got to have reinforcements and shit on it to handle the 12 valve.
One would hope.
That chassis is a little sketchy. I'm not throwing shade, but like it's a factory YJ frame.
Oh,
I think
Yeah.
he just recently finished it, right? It wasn't.
Yep.
So
he just recently finished it so much that he didn't have time to weld the rear axle.
oh,
yeah.
that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. He had an
So-
open rear end.
I mean, at that point, just get it out there. Even if it's a factory YJ frame is not designed to handle a 1,200-pound engine, but at the same time, even if you do and go through and put all the preventative measures in place, there's still going to be something you missed. It's just how it goes. Like, you're never going to get it perfect. There's always going to be something that either you don't account for or slips past, and then you have to go through and change it anyway. So I don't think that's really that big of a problem. There will be revisions. Like, it'll probably be fine for a year or so, depending on how hard he beats on it, and then it'll probably need some
he's
addressing.
chooching that thing.
Oh, I know he is. That's why I said a year or so.
Speaking of how hard he beats on it, the climb that you ended up bending your bead lock on, Graham, he was, not only was he just straight billowing smoke, he was smoking all 4 tires, even with the open rear.
We'll get to that in a second. We should probably talk about the night ride on Friday.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The day ride on
Yeah,
Friday.
you did.
There
You're
was
skipping
no
something
night ride on Friday.
Well, Graham's
fair. There's some fun shit for me in there.
There was no night ride on Friday. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
No, there was.
No.
Anyways, it sounds like we're done with Cripple Creek. Basically, it was that. We went through that. There was one more, like, little rock garden without anything of note, and then we scooted out. We met up with you guys. I think you guys were eating lunch or dinner or something.
Yeah,
in
we were
between.
working on lunch. I grabbed a couple of beers and threw them in, and away we went again.
Yeah, and then we went to Rubicon, so we passed through Honey Hole, did all that sort of stuff. And Rubicon's a pretty cool trail. It was kind of frustrating because, honestly, I don't know if it was just the conditions or what was going on, but the traction there compared to most of the other spots we hit was just not the same. It was a lot more difficult to get through that spot.
It was further down the mountain.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So.
Yeah, it was.
And I was in the front, I wasn't in the front. Jay was in front of us, who has a Comanche. He'd be a cool guy to talk.
Oh, sorry,
No,
Jay.
He had a Comanche. I think his name is Jay, or we were calling him Jay. Jason Jay. And he's got a tan Comanche thing with the. He had the. I was surprised. I was actually impressed that they were still intact with how he wheels. The those fiberglass fender things that you see on like the pre-runner Cherokees.
Yep.
And he didn't have them on the back, but I guess he has, set for the rear, so it'll have bed sides.
He had the rears at the cabin.
Oh, he just took them out. Yeah, okay. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't remember where I saw them, but I saw them neatly piled up on the ground somewhere.
Gotcha.
Can we just talk about the fucking spray painted Dirty Lives? Those were fucking cool.
Oh yeah, I thought they were like, that was a powder coat, or he bought them like that, because I know Method makes some different color wheels, right? So I didn't really look at him too closely, and I was like, oh, he's got red Methods on it or something. And we got to talking later at the fire. It's like, yeah, I just spray painted them. The powder coat guy wanted 500, and I didn't want to pay that, so I spray painted them, and it looks sick. Like, it looks really clean. So
it looks good.
Yeah.
What do you have for a motor in that?
5.3, I believe.
It's a 5.3.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking at photos of it right now, and the wheels do look great. But yeah, I saw the little cowl sticking through the.
That
he had a 5.3, and he's not afraid to let that thing sing.
we'll definitely be covering that one later because that gets. Fuck, we haven't even gotten into the fucking night ride yet.
Hey,
Jesus
as it turns out, you don't need the 5.3 to get up some of those hill climbs on the night ride.
Yeah, dude, it was. That property is just fucking wild, and like, it's a typical southern property with a lawlessness that's allowed. I cannot fucking describe it other than like pure perfection mixed with a side of terrible choices.
I seriously don't know why you guys keep talking about a night ride on Friday. Never happened.
Oh, it happened.
Well, he's saying that because he fell asleep.
Sure happened.
He was curled up on the fucking love seat like a baby after sleeping. For not the entire truck ride, but quite a while. He curled up like a little baby on the love seat, fell asleep.
Oh,
No.
fuck. I totally
Brent.
realized.
Huh?
What?
Go ahead, Richie.
So I fell asleep outside by the fire, and it scared the shit out of me because I originally just like tilted my head back to look up at the stars for a minute, and then when I straightened my head out, fucking everybody was gone.
Oh no, yeah,
And
you
there
were
was
catching
rev
flies, my
limiters.
boy.
There was rev limiters fucking bouncing off in the fucking woods behind me. I'm like, what the fuck's going on?
Wait, we just left you at the fire?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
That's hilarious.
I actually went into the cabin, but we're missing Grembo's fucking little barrel roll and my fucking almost roll that was pretty fucking hilarious too on Rubicon.
Yeah, that was Rubicon was interesting. I'm a little mad I couldn't even put tire on that first little ledge so I could show JB how to use the race tires. Because
Dude, that
seemed
first
cool,
little ledge.
but I
That
couldn't.
first setup. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Are you talking about the one to the left of it, or you like the actual ledge?
I'm talking about where you spent 20 minutes diddle fucking yourself.
Oh, I know. You don't have to tell me. And then you
You
both
wanted
tried to fuck
shot
up
at it.
it.
You
It's always
wanted it
easier for
so
the third
fucking
guy.
bad.
I was pissed.
Yeah, dude. You wanted it. No,
it was like every single thing was denying me. It was that first ledge that just I had no business on. My tires weren't grabbing. That second ledge, which like would let me on it, but I couldn't get any traction once I actually got up past that tree on the to the driver's side there. I just something was hanging up. I just couldn't get it past that rock on the passenger side, wherever the hell it was. And no matter what I did, I mean, there was some okay bumps in there. I didn't hit it as hard as you, but it was, it just didn't seem like it was worth it after about 4 tries, right? So backed off that. Eventually got up somewhere more further down into on that left section past that main little lip, but then Luke comes flying in. What is that, like first shot? Because you'd been sitting behind me for like 20 minutes as I tried all these different spots.
He was yelling out the window at everybody to get out of the way.
No, the most important part of this story before we even get in there is that I looked at Richie, I want Smokies. He passes me a Mar bread. I smoked the entire thing in about 3 drags, put it out on the side of the Jeep, and then yelled at everyone to get the fuck out of the way because I went to go and hit it the first time and people weren't moving.
Oh no, they were like
So,
crowding around up there. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I ended up
Standing
fucking
directly
clutching
in
out.
front of him.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah.
I ended up clutching out halfway up the obstacle because people weren't getting out of the goddamn way.
Because they
So
just watched me not make it, so they were gonna watch you struggle.
So I put it in reverse, backed up a little bit, got my front tires where I wanted them to be, dropped it into first, and just fucking clutch dumped it to the moon, and away we went. So you come off of this first hop up ledge, which is probably 3-4 feet tall. Would you agree with that, Graham? Somewhere in there.
Not 3 feet, maybe.
And
it
then
wasn't. It's not a ledge. It's like, I mean, it's gradual. There's just a lot of shit in the way. Like there's just everything that could possibly grab a rear axle or a belly pan, or cross member is there, and it will grab it. So
And so then I clutch dump up that and we're good. And I end up on the top of this like tabletop rock. Wow, English is hard today. I guess it's hard every podcast, but anyways. So I go skirting around that and I rode the rim with my diff cover, almost flopping the Jeep in the process. There's the Instagram reel showing where my rear axle just decided to like fall out from under it basically.
Mhm.
And got into the next section and then my fuel pump died. Like literally, that was the point where my fuel pump died. It was measurable because after that one hard bump up and then the tabletop rock, I couldn't get it to run for the rest of the weekend.
That makes sense because you hit that hard. The only way you were gonna
That
I can even think because I wasn't down watching you do that. I was still up higher. I was talking with Jay and Kevin, um, and I mean I saw you from a distance hit it, but you must have hit that fucking hard, which is probably
he
what
hit
messed up
that.
the fuel pump.
He hit that so hard that high school Luke would have been proud.
Hit it with a 4,500 RPM clutch dump.
Oh boy, yeah,
Oh, okay.
it
Um,
worked.
He ping ponged. He didn't just bounce up it. He fucking ping ponged.
See,
up
you
it.
know,
you
like
got
you know,
lucky,
you know,
is what you're
back in the
saying.
old days when we were at Harris Mountain, where Colin would, there was that one ledge where Colin, the only way he could get up it was by basically launching up the top of this thing, and then getting the front axle over, because if you didn't, then it would grab and it would deny him. It was basically like that, I would imagine.
Was
Huh.
exactly like that. Um,
You're
and
just
I think
flying
that
over the obstacle,
I think that's where I broke the fuel pump
probably.
because
I guarantee
launched-
that broke it.
In hindsight, it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Because
and then after that, I
it
got
would-
past. Sorry, go ahead, Richie.
I was just saying after you did that, that's when the Jeep wouldn't fucking run.
Yeah, so I think
'Cause
I
it
shattered
was-
the fuel pump.
You got hung up on something right on top of that little obstacle ledge or whatever, and everyone was telling you, well, just bump it a little bit, and you were screaming at, I think it was Tony, that your foot was on the fucking floor while the Jeep was trying to fucking die.
No, it was me.
Oh, it was
I
you.
I was spotting him. Both me and Anthony were spotting him, and yeah, it didn't.
But that it was as soon as you did that, that's when it started and fucking up like that.
It was bad too. Like when I say it was fucking, or when it said that it was dying, I mean like we're talking foot to the floor, barely holding 500 RPMs. If I let out of it, it would stall instantly. And it just kept going like that over and over and over and over. And so I ended up leaving at that point, and I'm gonna have to turn this over.
You left?
Uh, pretty much right
Yep.
after your
Wait, so
flop.
did you not see the roll?
No, I saw the roll
Okay.
from the
Yeah,
back.
because I was gonna say I have a picture of you like in the back, like you had kind of putzed it up.
Yeah, I putzed it up, but like I couldn't go.
Yeah.
So you rolled Graham just a little bit up the mountain from where Luke
Yeah,
did.
yeah, we went into that next garden, and I was. That's actually that left side where I was not at all where I wanted to be. I wanted to be more where JB was from the beginning, but Anthony had been spotting me through on the on the left side, and I couldn't hear him, and he couldn't hear me. So there was really just a lot of lack of communication as to where I wanted to go. I was like, I want to go to that side. It looks way more fun. And here I am on like what I thought was the lame side. Like there wasn't anything going on. Like there weren't that many rocks. It wasn't that technical. I mean, it was, but it wasn't as technical as the other side that JB was going through behind me. So I was just like, I was completely off guard when that happened. I'll be completely honest. Like the spot I was in, I thought no shot because the slope, like there wasn't that much of a slope to the spot I was in. There weren't many rocks for me to get hung up on. I assumed when I went over on that rock that rock was just denying me because of lack of traction, which had been the case for the rest of that, previously on that obstacle or that whole trail, I guess, was just
If it wasn't,
the rocks were not. My tires weren't grabbing on the rocks, which was causing me a lot of problems. So when that actually happened, like I had rolled into it because I had been on that rock for a solid 5 minutes, or maybe not 5 minutes, but for a solid bit of time, just trying to find the right spot for my tires to hook up finally and go, which is why I kind of rolled into it. And they had a strap on me to like try to get the body to do something right, and I was like, well, that's not going to do anything. This thing's too heavy for that to make a difference. And they had like just pulled that off. And I was just sort of at this point just hitting it. Anthony was kind of spotting me. I think kind of watching JB because he was catching up to me at this point. Um, and I just sort of rolled. I wasn't going fast, but I just rolled into it weird. And then I felt it. It didn't feel like it unloaded, but it was side or a little crooked. And then all of a sudden it was just like switch flipped, and I knew it was going over. I was like, oh, there's no recovering from that. Like it's over. Like there's no way. I don't think I could have reversed that momentum and gotten it back because of how the rear
no.
was bound up, and it wouldn't have made a difference at that point. By the time I knew, it was already like in motion. So I just sort of like sat there, and it went over. I remember being on the roof and all the shit in my glove box or my center console falling out, and then like sliding towards the windshield, and then going on the other side, and then I was done.
Did you drop the stickers again?
No, but Richie did not give a single sticker out to anybody, and we didn't realize it until after we had
What
left.
the fuck,
I know.
Richie?
In my defense, we all forgot about the stickers.
Yeah. The stickers were a valiant effort, and we will have to try again next time. Richie did not hand them out at all. That should have been the first thing you did, Miss Sleeping Beauty, was get out of the truck after 4 hours of sleep and hand out stickers. But anyways,
you make it sound like I slept the entire fucking trip.
Oh, it seemed like it.
I did it. I slept for like an hour at a time, and then I would ask you if you wanted to swap. You'd say no. I'm like, well, fuck, it's fucking 1 a.m. I might as well sleep a bit more.
Yep. I'm giving you shit, but it's only because you didn't give out stickers afterwards, and then you fell asleep for the night ride. But
hey, you're also the one that asked me like 5 times on the trip down if I got the stickers from Cody.
I did, yeah. Well, I mean, I wanted to make sure you had them, and then you totally dropped the ball because you had them. You didn't give them to anybody. But anyways, yeah, I mean, as far as rolls go, it wasn't like I was sore the next day. It was pretty smooth. Just sort of did its thing and was on the side. We rolled it back over, and then there was a moment where I was like, do I pull the plugs like a bitch and be like Curtis, or do we just try to start it? And we just started it, and it didn't even smoke. It didn't care. The only collateral was my brand new fan shroud, which was a little sad, but at the same time, it's not the end of the world. So
Fucked up a fan shroud rolling.
Yeah,
That's not
the
the end
fan
of the world,
shroud
man.
broke, and that was it. That was literally the only damage.
I honestly didn't see any new dents on the cage.
Yeah, so Richie and myself were sitting there in the back in my Jeep while that happened, watching Colton, I think it was, winch himself off of one of the obstacles.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we just see Graham go hit something with gusto and then barrel roll.
I didn't hit anything. It wasn't at speed. I just rolled into it. Like, if you watch the videos, I was just like, I don't think I was at a first gear. It was a first gear roll in. I just didn't expect it to go because I'd been sitting on that like that for a while and nothing had happened, and then it just flipped me. There was no rev limiter. There was no crazy hero like I have to gun this to make it up. It was just like, oh, we're driving. Oh, we're rolling.
The funny part about it was he cut the Jeep about halfway through the roll. So it just was like, "Brrr," and then over on its side.
Well, it's probably because he was off the clutch and then it hit the tires and then flopped back on its side. Because isn't that what it did? Or did it just go like 3/4
No, it went
turn?
fully over the roof.
Yeah, it did 3/4. It didn't go fully back onto the wheels. It went
okay.
It went side, roof, other side.
Gotcha. So that was where I haven't sat there and stared at the video that much, but yeah, I didn't know
if you watch my rear suspension, it is completely loaded up, and then the rear went, and the front passenger tire couldn't do any. It couldn't touch the ground, and the rear was just sprung it up, and It
What
was
would
game
have
over.
helped in that situation? A
No,
suckdown winch.
no, I don't think it would have. That would have actually made it worse. A suckdown would have
Nah,
just
nah,
made it
nah, nah.
unload faster.
No, would have kept it
Yes,
from
it would
bouncing all
have.
the
That is
way up
literally
because you
what
wouldn't
it
have had
does.
full
If
suspension travel.
if you're using a suckdown, you're limiting your travel.
Correct.
I needed more travel.
No, because you gave the springs. Now we're not getting back into this. But sure, yeah, yeah. You
No,
needed
no.
more
A
travel.
suckdown wouldn't have helped unless the
it.
suckdown was connected to the fucking rock. Like
Well,
it wouldn't
you
have done
could
anything.
have.
Listen, Damien was using the piss out of his front and rear suckdowns this weekend. They fucking worked.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
because he's got air
dude.
shocks. He needs them. Otherwise,
Oh,
that's
all of a
samurai.
sudden now you need them.
For air
Jeez.
shocks, yes, because otherwise, in your light ass samurai, it's just gonna sit there on the like stilts. Like,
Yep. I get it. I get
but,
it, Graham.
yeah, yeah.
Somebody else does it. It's cool, but me, not fuck them.
No,
I get
you're
it.
not allowed to have a suck down. You don't even have. You need hydro assist first.
I have it.
All right. You know, I would actually be impressed if you installed a suck down winch, because I haven't seen the hydro assist go in yet. So, but
It's in the works. It's in the works.
okay, okay.
That's some
Jeez.
shots fired.
But
That's
I mean,
okay. I get it.
they got to go both directions. I had shots fired my way for not having a suck down on the roll that would not have benefited from a suck down.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
You're
so,
totally right.
Yep, I am. I'm
Yep.
100% correct. But,
Uh-huh. Yep.
but yeah, we just
You
rolled
are
it back
the
over, started her up, no problems. Fuck checking your plugs, Curtis. That's for babies. Just burn oil like the man that you aren't. And don't waste everybody's time. And then we just sort of kept going. I pulled it up onto a flat spot, checked everything in the engine bay. I didn't really lose that much. A little bit of coolant. I think the most fluid I lost was from my rear diff because that stupid breather, I broke that last minute before we even left for the trip, when I yanked the axle, and the hose clamp had disappeared, and I didn't clamp it back down, and I just didn't have one that was the right size, so it sort of just was zip tied into the cab and not attached at the axle the entire weekend. I was actually impressed it stayed on. So I think the most I lost was from the diff, more than anything.
Yeah.
Maybe a little from the trans, but
Fucking coated. Your frame rail was absolutely coated.
yeah, perfect. It's like free fluid film. So
Yeah, I know. Helps combat rust.
yeah, good thing I'm cutting all the back off at some point. Like it won't matter. So, but yeah, that was that, and we just kept going after that. I mean, we just rolled it back over, and kept moving. I think Luke, you and Colton had you boogied to get your Jeep off
I
at that
dipped.
point.
So at that point, there was a couple of guys that had came up, and one of them had a code reader. So I grabbed the code reader and checked what was going on with my Jeep, just, as a matter of making sure that I wasn't missing any engine codes, because before I'd had a distributor position sensor, or whatever the hell that code is, cam position sensor maybe, code, and a manifold air pressure code, which I had fixed before I went to the trip, and got those taken care of. And the only thing I had was a coolant temperature sensor code. So I was like, okay, well, maybe if the coolant temperature sensor's acting up, that would explain why it's running so bad, because it's putting the wrong fuel trims in, thinking that it's running at different temperatures than it's actually running at. No, that wasn't it. I swapped the thermostat housing, removed the thermostat, and put a new sensor in it, and it was acting up just as bad. But that's neither here nor there. We can get to the night ride, because that was a ton of fun.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't miss much. We went up like a little bit more. JB and Jay spent a bunch of time. Well, there was one like kind of squeeze that everybody had to make it through, and they all made it through pretty easy. And then I had a hell of a time getting through for some reason. I don't know why. It was just school bus things, I guess.
Forgot about Richie's phone in my goddamn glove box. That was fucking a hilarious little side note to this whole endeavor.
I did not hear of this.
So I kept throwing my phone and the juice for my vape into the glove box of whatever rig I was in, just that way, because I can't fit in anyone's seats with all the stuff in my pocket.
Yeah, I feel
So-
that.
So I was just throwing them in the glove boxes and shit.
How
And
much
fucking
stuff do you have in your fucking pockets, boys?
it was literally just my phone, the bottle of juice for my vape, and then that was it. I can't fit into any seat with them on because
Huh.
they all hug my hips.
As
So-
you should.
Yeah, yeah,
We
I'm
don't
not
all have the
complaining about that.
luxury of being able to put our stuff on a desk every day. Okay, we have to carry everything with us. I know it's a crazy idea, but we have to carry our.
What are you talking about? Like,
things.
I mean, my keys go in the Jeep, my phone stays in my pocket, and my wallet stays in my pocket, and like there's not much else to it. Like nothing else has that much weight, and I can, or that much volume, I guess. And
Graham, when your hips are the exact width of the seat, you can't have something sticking out in your pocket, even half an inch thick.
I don't know, eat a couple salads, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not getting you a wide boy seat.
Well, everyone should have a wide boy seat, okay? Anyways,
Wide boy
My-
seats, and he was still doing it. So I don't know what to tell you.
Exactly. Yeah, you've got the fat boys. Like, there's nothing. There's no excuse
but my
in your rig.
phone stuck in Luke's glove box because it jammed up somehow, and I couldn't open the glove box enough to get the phone unstuck, so that way I could pull everything out. So I'm like, you know what, Luke, you got my fucking phone now, and I just walked away. But once we got back to camp for dinner, I ended up going over and I started using screwdrivers, and I think I used a breaker bar at one point to try to pry the fucking glove box open enough to stick another tool in to try to slide my phone over to the sides from where it was hooked, so that way I could fucking pull it all out. And it took me 10 minutes.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. But yeah, you didn't miss much on the next bit. It was literally just one little obstacle, and then JB and Jay getting denied for, I think, probably about 20 minutes. They were sitting trying to get traction, and there was just nothing. It was a slop fest on this little spot on the left that they were trying.
It was
But,
way over 20 minutes, Graham.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a long time, and it was just clearly nobody was going to get up it without winching, and instead of doing that, they just backed out. And at that point, it was starting to get dark. I think it was probably 5 o'clock, so we called it for dinner, grabbed some firewood. Jay had a pretty sick little electric. Oh no, it wasn't even electric. It was just a little chainsaw. They used to cut up some of the dead wood out there and dragged it all back. Started a fire, had some dinner.
Fuck. JB and Tony struggled so much to throw those 2 pieces of wood into the back of your Jeep too, Graham.
Well, they were big fucking pieces of wood.
I pulled them out by myself.
Well, I don't know. You're a big working boy with large hips, and I guess they're not. I don't know what you want me to tell you. There's your praise.
That's funny.
But yeah, we got that done. Ate some dinner, had some beers, and we all knew the night ride was going to happen because that's just what you do when you're allowed to go on a night ride. Richie fell asleep on the love seat, so he has nothing to add.
Outside.
He was out.
I fell asleep outside. Thank you
true.
very much.
Yeah, you fell asleep outside. They were throwing. I think they piled beer cans in your lap.
Someone told me that I had a bunch of beer cans in my lap.
They were doing something. They were.
They were definitely fucking.
There
with
were
me.
there were some quarters, I think, flying toward trying to get them in your mouth, but didn't happen.
That's nasty. What the fuck is wrong with you guys? Let
Oh,
them
what
boys
is-
sleep.
I was told that you guys tried to wake me up. You couldn't, so you guys stacked beer cans on me and then left.
Yeah,
That's what I was told.
And I mean, we weren't trying to do anything crazy for this night ride. We were just going to Jigsaw. The plan was to go to Jigsaw. So we were scooting down this one thing, and we ended up taking a detour. I don't know why. I mean, it wasn't at all by Jigsaw. It was like behind our cabin. We were just doing this loop behind the cabin for some reason, and I mean, just sort of going down. We went through this pretty cool like rock ravine thing. I don't know who was with me. Oh, Anthony was with me, so he can't add to the story yet unless we have him back on. But went through this little rock ravine thing. Not anything crazy. Up a couple little things. Again, nothing of note. And then we hit. There was this one spot where everybody except for Jay with his 5.3 had scooted up it, and he had a decent time getting up there. I mean, it's slick. It was covered in leaves because it's October and just general dirt and crap. It was not the greatest of traction. And everybody else had sort of gone to the right, and then Luke puts tire on it. So I was like, okay, well, if Luke's going to try it, I'm going to try it. So, Luke, I'll let you kind of explain your struggle because I know you were sort of there for all of this as well. And the only reason I hit it was because you put tire on it.
I was fucking mad. You could probably tell the story better than I can because the only thing that comes to mind from that is just rage.
Yeah, you were sitting there, and you actually, like I said, the reason I did it was because you did it, and you actually almost had it. Like, it looked like it was gonna go, but the motor just wouldn't do it because of the fueling problems. So,
I guess I'll just hop in real quick. This ledge setup that was in front of me, I hopped up on there. The first time I couldn't quite get it. Second time, I got really close. Third time, I was fucking there. And, like, I was bouncing rev limiter, and then the Jeep just shuts off on me. Like, I was 3/4 of the way up the first step, and once you get the first step, the second step's just, like, really easy to hop up. I had already gotten all my tires on there, and it just dies. So I ended up fucking having to like clutch out and fucking back down this thing.
and that's the thing. You can get up the hard part. The hard part is that first section. But if you stop, you're not making it up the rest of that hill just because of how slick it was. So you needed the momentum from the bump from initial get-go. If you didn't have that, you weren't making it up. And
Yeah, but it like died on me, so
Yeah,
there was
yeah.
no way I could
no,
get
you
up
had
it.
no choice. You didn't have an option. It was you're at the mercy of your fueling system. So, anyways, you were frustrated as hell, backed off, and I was like, okay, well, if Luke can almost make it up with half a fuel pump, then I should have no problem making it up. Uh, and I don't know
No
how many
problem
times.
making it up.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I had sat there at the first bit because it took a couple tries to center myself.
By the time that I had gotten out of the Jeep unharnessed and walked over, it was probably I think you made it on your fourth shot up.
Yep.
Uh,
So, because the
and-
tricky spot was it kept kicking you. It would kick you to one side or it'd kick you to the other side, and neither side was good. Like one side dropped you off a ledge, and the other side, if you got sideways far enough, you'd be probably rolling as well. So at least for the first half, once you got up on the left, it got a little more reasonable. But for the initial chunk, right, it was a bit of a drop on the left and on the right, and the right on the entire way, at least in that spot where it actually mattered. I mean, technically, if you were a dumbass, you could continue on the throttle and slide all the way over there and fall off. But I was probably diddling around in second gear, low range, just trying to get up it. And then once I had figured out where it was going to put me and that it was going to kind of fight to stay straight, we went into third. Anthony kind of looked at me with, he was a little concerned. And then we just fucking hammered it. And it did exactly what I expected. It kind of went side to side. I just kept kept the Jeep moving in the general upward forward direction, and we just hammered through it right on up. And these guys and Jay and Kevin and their LS Cherokee were kind of, I don't know if I dumbfounded is the word, but I was impressed with it because that is like definition of where you want horsepower over gearing and whatnot. But third gear and low 4.0 does the is about the same apparently.
You were
So.
slinging rev limiter from
Oh, it was
about
on it.
halfway up that rock.
I
all
wasn't
the way
letting
to
off.
the
As soon as I
top.
knew it had momentum, like there was no shot because I knew if I stopped, I'd be fucked, and it'd be even worse with the 4.0 and everything else than I would be if I just kept on it, keeping it in the general direction it needed to go. So that was probably one of the funnest things we had done all weekend. Honestly, that obstacle right there, because it was a mess, and just one of those do or die sort of things where, if you mess up and let off, you're not going to have a good time. But if you don't and you make it, it's super cool, and it was super cool.
Yeah,
so.
that was a hero moment,
Yep.
if you will.
Oh, I was feeling good after that, which leads us into the next spot at Jigsaw where things did not go so hot.
I got to pretend to be the big elephant.
So I didn't even see the rest of Jigsaw. I don't know if anybody else did. JB would have to tell the story, I guess, or one of the other guys we were with.
JB was just like, fuck this shit, and cut his own fucking trail right to the top of it, and was
Yeah.
just sitting up there.
Yep.
I'll let you.
Who
get
did
into
you
it.
ride with?
Oh no, my Jeep was there. I
Oh,
told
you actually
out.
you went there?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
that's
told
right.
you out.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Jesus. Because I forgot it was running a little better, and you had it up the whole time. I forgot when you had went back, but so the first part of Jigsaw is this little ledge, nothing crazy. Like you wouldn't think of it as an obstacle really in anywhere. This is why it's so stupid. It was tough because of how muddy it was. That's really the only thing it had going for it. But I got my front tires up on it, and I figured, okay, well, I've gone up plenty of these. It was basically like a slightly bigger version of that little ledge staircase thing at Mabel.
Yeah.
Like, just a little bit more than that, but imagine it just covered in fucking southern mud. Is
Covered
pretty much
in
what we're-
pig shit is the best way to put it.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was bad.
It was slick, but I got the front up, so I was like, okay, we're in the clear. All the weight is in the front, and it's going to be less muddy up in the front, so I'll get traction and I'll go. But there were a bunch of people sort of close to the top, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to hit it a little bit, so let's have them move. Well, they moved their shit out of the way, and my dumbass put it in third gear, low, and just pinned it, and it hopped. And I think there's a video of it hopping. I don't know where it is. I'll post it if I find it. It should be in there in one of those folders, Cody. I know you're poking.
I
around
didn't
with
end
those.
up seeing it.
It should be in the Friday. Maybe not. I don't. It might have been another guy that had it. Maybe Kevin had it. But there is a video. And yeah, I guess the rear end bounced real high, and I don't think I let off the throttle, and we hit the ground, and bye bye drive shaft, bye bye traction bar again. So that sort of ended my night wheeling stint.
Yeah.
And I was
And
concerned. Unfortunately, I had brought a spare drive shaft, so I wasn't. I knew I wasn't completely fucked, but I needed a conversion joint because the one I had was a 1310, not a 1350. Fortunately, Luke had one of those, so we were in the clear for Saturday. But no traction bar was kind of a bummer. I will say, I think it's the owner of Good Evening Ranch. Somebody had talked to them about us needing welding, and he said he would do it. But my dumbass, with waking up late in the morning because of all the shit that we had done for the past 2 days,
Hang on. I've got
Okay.
some stuff to throw in there about the night ride.
Okay.
So I picked up Jake from State Farm. Awesome dude. Really,
Was he
really
wearing
nice guy.
khakis?
Really cool. Not wearing khakis, wearing blue jeans.
Couldn't be Jake then.
So he hops in with me, and my glove box starts malfunctioning and popping open whenever I would hit the gas pedal. So we're riding, and whatnot, and like we hit a couple of ledges. We went through that foxhole was the name of the trail, and that was where my glove box really started to let go because we were like hammering to get out of there. And when I say hammering, I mean like I was letting that bitch sing on rev limiter for a 30-second window just like to clear from the bottom of the foxhole to the top of it. Um, so he ends up taking a Coors Light can, or I'm sorry, a Coors Heavy can, and he like folds it into my glove box to get the latch to kind of grab, and so it can't pop open. And right as Graham is going to blow his stuff up, the fucking or sorry, did we even cover me getting lost?
No.
No,
Oh
you did
my
get
God.
lost, but we found you.
Yeah, so I
So
got lost in there. I forgot about that. And that was great. Graham had to come all the way back down
a
and
theme,
find
a
me.
theme of night rides, getting
Yeah,
lost.
uh quite the theme. Um well, don't say it, Graham. Just don't say it. So we end up going up there and like we're coming up to the next ledge and the Coors Light can finally fails. So my glove box pops open again and the light comes out and he just looks at me and he goes, I don't know what the fuck's going on with your goddamn glove box. So while Graham is fixing his drive shaft literally being split in half and he broke like an Adams 1350 drive shaft clean up the center.
Not twisting the shaft, like
No, just like
blew the slip yoke apart. I
it
didn't even
left
think
the
that
crazy.
was an
shaft.
option. Uh, yeah, it's odd.
Um So like I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm working on my glove box. I pass Graham the wrenches he needs, and I fix my glove box, and they're like, yeah, you might want to end up turning it around and towing him out of there. So I didn't even get to hit Jigsaw, which honestly was probably for the better given my fueling problems and everything. Um, but I had to back up the ledge that he was talking about to be able to hook my strap to him to pull him out. Getting up that ledge took about 6 fucking tries and a rev limiter bump in reverse. You want to talk about feeling weird, not being able to see the direction you're going and having to go down to lap belts and holding onto the cage with the steering wheel being held with one hand so you could see where you're going is a weird fucking feeling. Um, so we end up strapping up to Graham and we're pulling him out of there. And there was a couple of spots where like I was in first gear and for some reason my fuel pump decided to cooperate for this to pull him out because he was like lame ducking it behind us as the baby elephant from Cody's old hatch. Um, getting towed out of there.
There's a reason I
So,
left that sticker. It's so fitting.
so I'm pulling him out of there, and we finally make it up to the big horse barn. And so I'm like, hey, Jake, you want to just go unstrap us? And, you know, whatnot. So he hops out of the Jeep, and this 90-pound Rottweiler comes running around the fucking barn,
I forgot
like
about this.
freaking the fuck out. So he goes and he's like, man, I really don't want to unstrap you standing in the doorway. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess we'll just drag him out of here the rest of the way. And so I shit you not, he grabbed the top of my roll cage, the top of my door, and swung himself into the seat in one fluid motion, shuts the door, looks at me, and goes, you got another beer? And let's get going. And I'm like, okay. So I just drop it into first, and he's like, no, we need to go. So, like, I grabbed second with Graham behind me. I think you ended up in what, fifth?
Yeah, I think by the end I was in fifth gear, trying to let you drag me because I couldn't.
So like,
Uh,
I'm grabbing second gear, and the dog is running behind Graham's Jeep by a good like 6 feet until we clear around the corner of this horse barn. And at that point, we're halfway back to camp, so I'm not fucking unstrapping. And Jake was so fucking rattled that he wasn't gonna unstrap.
yeah,
You
And
don't think
so
the
we
dog
got
just wanted to say hi? You think he's actually gonna like rip you up if you got out?
it's a Rottweiler. Who knows?
It's a
True.
Rottweiler that was doing like that furious barking, like "How dare you make me have to get up?" kind of
Gotcha.
barking. With like drool hanging off of his face, and we were just like, "Nope, not today." So
I did not hear about this dog episode.
Yeah, there was a dog, and he was
we
angry.
get Graham back to camp, and I'm like, "Well, at least that's over." Um, and I think we went to bed at that point.
Yeah, the rest of those guys had looped around within like the next 20 minutes, and then that was it for day one. Here we're an hour and 50 minutes in, and we're only on the first day. Granted, there were only 2 days of wheeling. We would have stayed uh, on I don't even know what day it was. We would have stayed for Sunday had I not blown up, but Luke was broken. I had no more drive shafts at this point. Spoilers. Um, and JB wasn't broken, but it's just because he didn't wheel hard enough. So uh, he needs to try harder next time. So we ended up leaving on that was only Friday,
Sunday,
Sunday morning or Sunday at like midday, I guess, because we kind of
yeah.
we weren't in any major rush.
Well, before we get to Sunday, let's cover Saturday
Oh, I know,
because
I know.
there's quality content in there.
Yeah, no, and Sunday or Saturday was right. We fitted around with your Jeep trying to get it to get it fixed because at this point we didn't think it was fuel pump still. We were still convinced it was other things sensor related, but um, after a lot of fiddling, we there was nothing
Call
else
from
to
Jacob.
be a problem. Yeah, Jacob set us straight, as he
Yeah,
generally does with motor stuff.
so like my Jeep was running rich, which you wouldn't think would equal out to a problem. But when I was talking to
What?
Jacob, yep,
Why would I?
Not a
Yeah,
fuel pump
hang
problem.
on.
You wouldn't
fouling
think
out plugs, it would cause many issues.
no, but you wouldn't think the fuel pump is broken if it's running rich.
Why not?
we'll get to that. So
Okay.
I called Jacob, and the conclusion we ended up coming to from my rig was that because the spark plugs were white, it was running lean. And the reason that but it was running rich when it was trying to
Light is
catch itself.
detonation, by the way. It's the aluminum from the pistons on your
It
on
wasn't
your
that
plug.
bad. It's just like a light-ish brown white. It wasn't like aluminum detonating level.
Okay.
Um, so we were talking with him, and he goes, it sounds like what's happening is it's leaning out when the fuel pump cuts whenever you hit a bump, because that was what was preceding the Jeep dying on itself. Is I would hit a bump and then it would die. So he said, it sounds like it's coming back rich because it's trying to overfuel if you don't get out of the throttle. If you get out of the throttle and then get back on it, does it try and clean up? And I was like, yeah, that's actually perfect to a T. And he goes, yeah, you've got low fuel pressure at some points because the pump is intermittently dying. And then we realized very rapidly that I broke the fuel pump. Again.
I'm not super surprised, to be honest with you.
I'm not super surprised. I'm just saddened because it's a different style of fuel pump. And this time, instead of breaking off the bottom of the fuel pump, it actually broke the fucking the internal pump itself.
Hmm.
So the fuel pump itself is entirely 100% there, working as it should be, except for the pump that sends pressure through it.
So have you pulled it yet to confirm?
I really don't have any way to confirm except for loading it up or putting it under bumps with a really long fuel pressure gauge to see where it's dipping.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm trading fuel cells with Tony. So Friday night, I'm meeting up with Jake because he'll be down in Tennessee, and we're trading fuel cells. So Tony is getting my cell, and I'm getting an RCI with the inputs for just like an inline pump, and I'm going to an inline.
Gotcha.
There you go.
I've given up on trying to make that system work, and I would rather run a Walbro 255 with a manual pressure regulator and the bypass on it, and just run the bypass right back into the tank. So, from what I'm looking at, the fuel pressure should be about somewhere in the realm of 80 psi going into the bypass, and then I'm gonna set coming out of the bypass right around 58 or 56, I think it is for a Cherokee. So it should hopefully alleviate my problems. And then if I do blow a fuel pump, it's not a 24-hour repair. But
Yeah, that's like go to the store, get a new pump, call it a
yeah,
day.
yeah, exactly. I think Saturday, right? Like the actual wheeling we got to do wasn't that crazy. We reran Cripple Creek and a couple of other trails. It wasn't. I don't think that was all that noteworthy. I think the night ride
Nope,
Saturday.
nope. There was something on Cripple Creek. Tony almost died.
I forgot about that. Yeah, you're right.
What happened?
Uh,
Was it like a bear?
no, Josh, I believe, and
Jake.
his Sammy, Jake, was going up that first obstacle that we spoke of earlier, and he started in going over. Like no, he was actually sitting on his side. And so Tony and a couple of the guys just went over and shoved the Sammy because it's a Sammy. It's fucking light as fuck. Shoved him back over, and Jake fell all the way down onto flat ground. And Tony fucking must have put a little bit too much into the shove because he followed the fucking Sammy
Oh,
and landed on the
Jesus.
fucking
Landed
hood.
on the hood.
Holy shit.
And there was like no way to catch him or anything.
So Tony dents the hood on this Samurai.
Not that you could tell.
No, it was kind of raised already. But it
Kind
was a
of.
good little dent. Yeah, what else happened then? We had it wasn't on that trail, but there was a couple other noteworthy incidents. What was the trail we ran after that? Because I remember
Well, the first
Graham
thing we hit was, at least when we joined in, it was we hit Cripple Creek. And again, like we probably should have grabbed JB or somebody for this because they'd be able to fill in some of the gaps here. And then we'll have somebody on at some point, I'm sure, to get more of an account on this, as we generally do. But we did Cripple Creek, and then from there, where did we go? We kind of just did.
I don't remember what you guys did, but I went out onto
We kind of did a big loop. Like
it was called Ice Cream.
Yep,
I did a trail with JB called Ice Cream.
I forgot about that. That wasn't that crazy.
Well, you weren't there.
No, I was with Graham.
Yeah, and you guys weren't there.
Oh.
On
was this
Ice Cream.
earlier? Oh,
Yeah,
you
it
were
was
there. You
earlier.
were with JB in the morning, so you can account
Yeah.
for all the stuff you did in the morning. So go for
Yeah.
it.
So we did ice cream, and that wasn't that bad. Most of that was really just bombing around the whole property, and me and JB got to see a good portion of the property,
At what,
bombing
20 miles
around
an
on all their
hour?
green trails. Huh?
He can only go 20 miles an hour.
Yeah. Well, we weren't going 20 miles an hour because
Why does he need race
going down
tires
these.
if he can only go 20?
We kept going down these stupidly steep fucking hills.
Yeah. So another thing is, I think this property is like 800 acres.
400.
400.
That's not that big.
It's not huge, but there's a lot packed into it. Similar to how Battlegrounds is like 28, or Richie's property that's like 28.
Yeah.
But you can spend a day wheeling there.
That's a good illusion.
But we ran ice cream, which that was really nothing to run home talking about. And then that we somehow ended up in, I think it was called Lion's Den or something along those lines.
Lion's Den is in
Yeah,
Kentucky.
that's in
so-
Kentucky. I don't think, unless it's like knockoff Lion's Den, which is very possible.
No,
But,
it was definitely called like Lion's Den or Lion's Den, and then there was a couple little offshoots on it.
that's the other
and
thing.
that-
A lot of these trails are unmarked. Like a lot of them just straight up don't show up on the map. They're there, but you can't find them on the map.
But Lion's Den was like if you took the honey hole and just stretched it out into a full length trail. Like it was a lot of fun.
Oh.
And the picture of Damien's Sammy there with the where he's got his front end all the way up a fucking rock face with the passenger tire just kind of chilling in the air. That was on Lion's Den.
Gotcha. I'm a little sad I missed that. That sounds fun.
Oh yeah, well I tried getting you guys to come down to us.
Yeah,
Because
I think at that point I was probably done because all I had to do was swap that drive shaft, the U-joint,
Yeah.
pop right out, pop the new one in. But we were just fiddling with Luke. I felt bad because I was like, this is like typical Luke scenario where his Jeep doesn't fucking run, and he only got one day of wheeling in. It's like we've seen this for the past 2 years, so I was trying to help. I was like, all right, let me drive this piece of shit. Let me feel what's going on. I drove it down one little hill. Or up one little hill, felt the problem, but it wasn't that bad. Like I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like it's like, yeah, it doesn't go past $3,000, but you don't need anything more than $3,000 in like 99% of cases, and it made it up just fine. And bring it back, and he goes and takes it out, and he barely even—I don't even know where you went, Luke, but you went down. It sounded like garbage, and then I see you coming back up, and the thing's barely running, just like crawling up the hill. Back to the cabin. And I was like, oops. Yeah, sorry.
That's funny. Totally sucks, but quite funny.
Yeah.
Overall, the morning wasn't too eventful for us.
No,
Yeah, you didn't
the-
have me or Luke's shit boxes to break and slow everybody down.
Well, yeah, because everyone else was a competent wheeler.
Yeah, apparently.
Well, hang on, hold up. I resent that statement. We bring the party.
Yeah,
I mean-
the party of broken parts.
I mean, you're not wrong, but also you do have to admit that, like, when we showed up multiple times throughout that weekend, we brought the party. I brought the party at the beginning of Friday afternoon. Graham brought the party at the end of Friday afternoon. Graham brought the party on Saturday afternoon.
Did I?
You
Yeah,
did.
well, what did he do Saturday
I forget.
afternoon?
We'll get to that.
No, I didn't
no,
roll
it-
again.
He didn't roll again.
Although there were a couple close calls after that. It was obnoxious. It was like, now I was like, what the fuck? Now I just know where the tipping point is, and now it's going to almost roll. Like, Every other obstacle, it was annoying.
Well, no, it's just you now knew what the tipping point was, so you realized how close you frequently get to it.
Yeah, it turns
So
out it's pretty close.
I suppose we should cover Copperhead a little bit
I
because that was a
remember
fun
seeing
trail.
the Copperhead trail sign. I don't remember the trail.
That was the trail where you banged your beadlock up.
Oh, yeah. That was actually
yeah,
that was pretty neat. I was worried about that one because, again, I put a drive shaft in, but my traction bar ripped clean the fuck off. And had I gotten up before 12 o'clock, maybe I would have had the landowner weld it back on for me. But at this point, I just wanted to wheel. I didn't want to sit around and weld my traction bar back on just so it could rip off again or some stupid shit. Um, so I was just taking it easier. But this obstacle, I couldn't really do that. So there were some tasteful bumps to get up it, and I think I don't know how Craig had made it up in his YJ with Patagonias, but I knew that
so
because he had Patagonias that I'd have an easier time than him. I don't remember what line he ended up actually getting up. He was all over the place trying to
No,
find
he
where he got
ended up.
traction.
Remember, he went and ended up having to winch up the hill
On
that
that
was
one or the
that
second half?
on the second half.
Yeah, well, I didn't even
on
bother with the second half, I don't think.
No, you bothered with the second half. That's where you bent the beadlock.
Oh, I'm thinking of the third
Did,
part then. I don't know. There's too many parts.
did he winch up that?
No,
I,
Craig fucking bounced around on there until he like almost put it over on its side and caught beadlock traction to go up because Lord knows those Patagonias didn't help him.
yeah, no. So he dug the fuck out of the left side, and he ended up launching it up the right side, and that got his front end up to the next set of the steps, and he just slid the Jeep all the way over to the left side to the tree,
hmm
and then he pivoted off the tree.
I think
Yep.
I tried to go right, but it was having none of it. It would have been a throttle fest, and I knew I couldn't do that. So I ended up back on the left side by that tree, and somehow I don't know. I don't think I spent too much time there. There was a little bit of like me figuring out where it had traction and where I could apply like some throttle and roll into it because I didn't want to just hammer it and uh, roll the axle
Roll it
a
again?
ton. Huh?
Said roll it again.
No, I mean, like at this point, I'm worried about the axle wrap fucking bending back and snapping that U joint.
Yeah, because I mean, that axle is wrapping like a few inches up and down.
Oh yeah, no, I believe it, and it's already clocked higher than it should be, so it's already in a bad position for that U joint. So going any further is just a bad time for it. So I knew I had to be careful. The left side, I was able to throttle it up. Somehow it grabbed traction, and then I don't know what the fuck happened to bend my beadlock like that, but uh, I bent
You
the beadlock ring off, and it, deflated that tire.
so
Fortunately,
so when you bumped it, you caught the tire deflected to the side a little bit, and the bead lock itself slammed into the rock that you were bumping up,
mhm.
and it just peeled it right back.
Yeah. So fortunately, I lost all the air in that tire. Fortunately, somebody had a compressor and a hammer. I hammered the bead lock back straight. We filled it with air. It's held air. I think it still holds air, so I don't have to even disassemble that bead lock. It's good to go.
Um, so
Well, I mean, it
suppose-
wobbles like a motherfucker
Yeah,
now.
Jacob was complaining that my Jeep looked like a trapezoid in the back. So I don't know what the hell's going on. I haven't looked at it since the trip. I'll be there tomorrow. I can take a look, and I want to check out, obviously the cage and that rear axle because apparently something is not right with it, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah, the tire that you hit the bead lock on, that fucking wheel wobbles so fucking much now, and that your Jeep just dog walks so fucking bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. I'm gonna have to take a look.
well, I suppose that we should talk about the Cummins Choo Choo episode.
Oh yeah, well
That
that
was
was like
fucking
he was out
hilarious.
that day. He wasn't out all Friday, so we didn't really have much to add. But he was on it all through Cripple Creek that day when we went through it again, and Copperhead that I know of.
Copperhead, he was more so on it because it was like muddy bullshit. And he's got 43 SX non-stickies on it. So he was just laying into that thing, and every time he would lay into it, he'd have to build boost, so it wouldn't get moving right away. It took a half second to build the boost, and to be honest with you, after watching that thing, I don't want a diesel wheeler. Ever. I'm
Okay,
good.
but did it have a stock turbo on it?
It had a stock turbo, but if you go with a larger turbo, you're still going to be having the same issues when it
Who
comes
said
to
anything
spooling
about
it.
a larger turbo?
I
Nobody.
mean, it's an HX30. It's a first
Yeah.
gen D250 motor.
So you get, I mean, you could compound swap it. You could put a smaller turbo on it and then not have to worry about it. I mean, there's many options you can do. I mean,
What
shit, just
turbo
look.
are you really realistically going to put on a first gen motor that's going to be spooling quick enough? It's already got an HX30 with a fuel pin. So, like, I think it's an inherent issue with diesels.
Well, you
'Cause,
could
like,
also nitrous it, and then it would pep up a little bit quicker.
you
You'd be
could,
out of that bottle in like half a day.
Nah, just
yeah.
a little, psh, psh, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Just a little
exactly. Half a day. Using that thing every 2 seconds.
Dude.
You
Oh, man,
don't
he just
understand just how bad he was laying into it. Like, he ended up smoking. I think he probably was hurting the bands in that transmission from the amount of ATF we were smelling.
or he
No,
just
no, no,
needed
no,
to
no.
lock
It
up
was a
that converter a
727.
little bit more.
You can't. I don't think you can kill a 727 easily.
I don't know.
Not
I
like
he
a
was
47
definitely
RE.
giving out a valiant effort.
It was leaking. He said it was leaking, and he knew it was leaking. So
Uh,
it wasn't the transmission cooking. Those things are
but
stupid. You can put probably mud water in there and probably still work. There's no
but
overdrive. It's just dead simple.
either way, like, he was running into this weird issue where, because of the red line on a Cummins, you just, like, he was in this weird spot, and I don't really know how to describe it, as he couldn't build boost quick enough, and he ran out of red line too short.
He's got a.
And
Is it geared low or not? I think he said he had 410s
it's
in it,
geared
right?
low. He's got a doubler.
Oh.
So even with the doubler, he was not able to build the boost because he wasn't putting the
Well, he almost doesn't
engine
need the
under
doubler. He
enough
needs the
strain.
wheel speed. At that point, you have
Yeah.
to like. I don't know. I mean, a doubler is definitely nice for options as far as crawling. Like the thing's probably an absolute tank if you're going really low speed. But yeah, the wheel speed, you really want to probably pop it into high. And I don't even think he said he was using low. I think he said he was in high.
Then on the other opposing note, he was just not building boost quick enough, and it had an HX30 on it because it's a factory first gen motor with a pin. Super cool setup, don't get me wrong. And I'm not shitting on that. I'm just shitting on the fact that, unlike Jace with the LS, where when he wanted to put power down, he could put power down. It was the half second of delay before he could actually put the power down that was the problem.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
there's something to be said.
I have a
for-
5-minute video on my phone where he's definitely putting some power down.
He's putting the power down, but it's not like, you know how when I pop the clutch, the Jeep just launches? He can neutral drop it, but there is still a half second of delay where he has to get the boost up.
I mean, he
I
was
don't know.
he
I don't know
started
enough
in
opinion
doing
on
some
it.
boosted launches though.
Yeah, well, those were fucking cool, and I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah.
That's just what you have to
Uh,
do. I
And
mean, at
let
that
me
point,
tell you,
that's when he was rolling coal out the stack and like just sitting there chooching the thing.
it sounds like someone let an angry, deranged D9 loose in the woods.
Yeah,
Oh.
pretty much.
That's a good.
It
That's a good
sounded
reference to
really angry
understand.
when he was just on it, and then he'd get off it, back on it, off it, back on it.
Yeah.
It was just going. It was just doing all sorts of crazy noises, and just billowing black smoke out of the hood stack.
I mean, if
It
you
was
didn't
something to see.
hear the fucking Cummins, you would have thought the forest was on fire.
Jesus.
He was getting it, boy. And those front coilovers definitely worked. But the thing I noticed with that rig, and if we have him on, I'll talk about it with him. And we talked about it in person, is just it really suffers from getting the front end over something. Once it gets the front end up it, it's good. But until it gets the front end up it, it's kind of a slug.
Well, I also think that that problem would be greatly alleviated once he has the rear locked.
That's what I was
Because
gonna say.
instead of having the locked front and rear where the rear is helping to push the
Slip's
front
not
end up,
helping.
huh?
He had a limited slip in it, and it wasn't helping.
No, that was a gov bomb.
Yeah,
It
well-
doesn't even count.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is, even if a limited slip, when it's working properly, it will still allow one tire to slip. That's the thing. But what he needed was a locked rear end to help push the front end up and over shit. Because you're right, Luke. Once he got his front end up and over stuff, it would just drag the rest of the Jeep with it.
Well,
But it was getting it up there.
yeah, and
That was the
that's-
problem.
You need both, right? It's not a like if I lost a hub in the 50, and I haven't lost a hub in the 60 yet, so it's been doing fine. But when I lose a hub in the 50, it's like, okay, well, if I don't have a hub, I need to get one because things like it's got nothing. Like you can't lose a tire, at least with a Cherokee. I imagine it's very similar for a YJ or any Jeep for that matter. If you're actually doing wheeling where you need the control, is you need to have all the tires moving. Like as soon as you lose one, you're basically out of it. It's not what you're used to. You're not gonna have half the traction. Right. If it's not doing any work, then you're missing out on a lot. So I'd be very interested to see how it did with the rear welded.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
think would be a
there
ton
was
better.
that down in the creek earlier that morning when we were going up the where we all went up on the left side there. He was having a motherfucker of a time just getting
Yeah,
started
and that
up
was
on that.
and that was
obstacle.
because the locker he didn't have a locker in the back and he had no control, so the rear would not drive when it needed to and he'd slide.
Exactly.
He made it up with
Whereas
wheel
if
speed.
he had a lock, but if he had the locker, the very first time he went up and tried to
would've-
go
he
up,
would've crawled
he
it.
would have gotten up.
It wasn't that obstacle on the creek, that left obstacle, was not a throttle fest. That was just a matter of having traction at all the
Yeah.
tires to go up. And because he didn't have that, it was throwing him to the right side and not letting him have an easy time. So,
Yeah,
but anyways,
I think a rear locker will definitely help that rig. But can we move on to the night rod? Because that's where a lot of hilarity ensued.
well, I think at that point, have we done anything else after Copperhead? I mean, we did that bit, and then I think I scooted back for
I think
some
we
reason.
did lunch.
I forget why I went back. There was a reason I was going back early, or earlier than you guys. I don't remember why. Richie, were you with me, or had you scooted
I
out?
was with you.
No, Luca took my seat with you.
Oh,
So
that's right.
It's with JB.
Pretty much I rode all day Saturday with JB.
I think we went back for lunch, and it was kind of a group thing. I don't.
Oh
think
yeah, we
actually
were hungry
got
as hell
that
because we
back.
hadn't really eaten anything, so we were like, we're going back. There was another reason, but lunch was the main one. Ate lunch, and or was it lunch? I don't know. At that point, it was probably more like dinner. I think it was like 4 o'clock. Sat around, did sort of the same thing. Talked about, sat around the fire, talked about the day. drank a handful of beers, and then
Oh,
back out.
I cooked all that steak
Oh,
too.
that's right. Yeah, we had the steak, we had the
That
burger.
turned into a fucking party over there.
It was quite the amount of steak we had. Like, how many did you bring? 7, you said?
Yeah, I cooked like 7 steaks that we cut up into steak tips.
Yeah, it was a good time, good food. Uh,
Yeah, that I barely got to eat because everyone kept fucking picking at the steak.
you didn't eat any of the steak? Well, that's a shame. Anyways,
I
uh,
barely had any. I was bad.
the night ride. What was our plan for that one? Oh, we'd been talking about Cadillac like the whole day. We knew we were gonna
Yeah.
hit it because they had looked at it earlier or something, and they're like, "We're gonna go to Cadillac." So we went to Cadillac. Uh, I don't really remember the way there. All I remember was there was this really steep ass fucking like drop thing to go down to get to the bottom of it, and then
It was a stupid steep downhill that just felt wrong to go down.
yeah, but we made it down it. Uh, Drove around a little bit and ended up at the entrance. I think there was like a little bit of an obstacle to get in there, and then Cadillac is basically like uh, 3 or 4 different. I don't know how high would you think those say those were, like 8 foot
Yeah.
walls, not vertical but pretty slick. It's like a mud bowl that you have to escape. Pretty much is what it was. Um, And JB and Craig, I believe, were in the front, so they were in there playing around, scooting, trying to find one that they could actually make it up because there's the straightforward one was basically a bouncer line. Like none of us had any business on it. JB had like gotten kind of close to making it up with the race tires, but he had
So,
kicked himself
so
sideways and
he
got
got
nervous.
to the top. He got to the top of that, and he kept hitting it was either his diff or like the axle tube itself onto the large rock that was on the top left. And I was trying to slowly get him to work over passenger to clear the rock.
Mhm.
And his winch that he had hooked up to the front axle, the winch line broke and the front axle unloaded, and we kind of ended up falling down sideways. And I totally thought JB was going to lay the thing over on its side from like 5 feet up, slamming my side down into a giant mud hole. And I just kept saying
That's
to
what you get
JB,
for being passenger, is you always end up with the short end of the stick with the
I kept
flops
telling
and rolls.
JB, you better not fucking put me in that mud, man. It's all I said for like the entire time we were sideways. I'm like, JB, I don't want to be in the mud.
Yeah, anyways, you guys tried that one, broke his winch line, right? So then you scooted to, I think at that point Craig had made it through, so you scooted out the one he did, I think. He did that far back one on the right.
Craig ended up actually going up after JB.
Oh,
So
okay.
Craig
Okay.
went up. JB had already gone up it. JB was the first rig through there.
As
Yeah,
he should be
JB
with race tires.
JB ended up getting his front end up on top of everything, and he was just told to bump it as hard as he could. And you know what? JB fucking did. He must have fucking ping ponged on every fucking possible thing that was there. I distinctly remember the ass end of the Jeep got launched to the right, bounced off the tree, then to the left, bounced off the stump that was there, that then sent him back into the tree. And then we ended up on the top, and JB's just screaming, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" Because his harness came undone.
Oh my god. Well, he didn't put
He
it on
launched-
properly, clearly. I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yeah, his harness fucking came undone.
Jesus.
But we weren't sure if the harness broke or if it just like came unlatched, but it apparently just came unlatched.
Yeah, it happens. If you don't tighten it up right, sometimes or if you don't clamp that. He's got the manual ones like I do, right? It's not a
Yeah.
cam lock. Yeah, sometimes if you don't clip those right, they can just slide out. You have to make sure it's fully down. Yeah. So JB made it through. Me being behind those two, I was like, okay, well, let's put it on the main wall. Uh, because I'm not no bitch. We're gonna try it, even if it's completely unreasonable for me to even get up it. Let's see if it has any purchase. And it did not. Long story short, I was sitting there, spinning tire, and then allegedly everybody was telling me to let off, or about to tell me to let off because I was about to blow my U joint, and I blew the U joint in the axle again. So that is where my real wheeling for the whole weekend ended.
Wait, you're forgetting, Graham.
Oh, I know.
Just had to jump into the fucking water.
Oh yeah, I was gonna get there. I didn't jump into the water. Okay, this is a big ass ledge. I had gotten out. We had put the winch on. I had taken the drive shaft off again, and I was back on the driver's side. And the only way down off these slick ass fucking, you know, southern style mud rocks was either to jump into a what looked like a pretty shallow small puddle, or go to the other side around all the slick rocks I had just navigated, and basically slide off that side, and down. And I was already on the driver's side. I figured no big deal. It's a small puddle. I'm not going to go anywhere. So I jump into it, and it was not a small puddle. It went up to my knees, and I had to. Well, I don't even know what I was doing at that point.
Well, the splash was so loud that everyone stopped and started yelling, "What was that?"
Yeah, just me being a dumbass jumping into the puddle. My boots are wet for the rest of the weekend. But yeah, we yanked me out with my winch, put me to the side. The rest of those guys got through. Um, Jay with the Tan XJ tried again, or Tan MJ, sorry. Tried that same wall, and same thing. There was just no traction, so I didn't feel so bad about blowing my drive shaft on it. Nobody had any shot at getting up that. It wasn't the day. There was no traction, and the mud was slick. So he winched up that. The other guys, and we had an RZR with us at that point, or whatever you want to call them, side by side. Scoot up one of the lines. A bunch of guys were helping him get up. It was pretty fun to watch.
They quite literally threw a tree saver strap around the front bumper, and while he's sitting there smoking the tires, they were physically pulling the thing up the fucking rocks.
I don't know what it is with those guys and like manually tug of warring a rig up or over or around something. That's what a winch is for. Just use a winch. I don't know why we got to throw our bodies in the way here. And
well, they did eventually use a winch on it.
Well, I would hope so. After tug of war didn't work, you're always going to lose against a motor vehicle.
Listen, you get one little foot ran over, and everyone starts in crying. You know.
Exactly. But
I don't want to get my foot ran over.
Exactly. But that was it for that first section. Richie, you went with JB and those guys after I had. JB was like, "I'll drag you back." I was like, "No, you have like the most capable, or one of the most capable rigs here. You're gonna continue doing the red trails. I have 2 wheels of driving power left, and the trail to the right doesn't look like it's that bad to get out of." And they told me
Mind
the
you.
way to go. So I was like, "No, JB, you go do that. We'll be fine. We'll just drive out, and if we have any problems, we'll let you know, or we'll win."
So I have to interject here and just say that the rest of that trail took us a whopping like 5 fucking minutes, and we were back at the cabin. And JB's freaking out because like, "Oh, they're not here there yet. They're not here yet." And everyone's like, chill. We'll give them a half an hour, and then we'll try getting a hold of them.
Yeah, so
That was a half hour and a half, boy.
yeah, it was and like I said, it sounds like the rest of that trail wasn't that interesting, but me and Luke had a hell of a time on the access trails. As it turns out, My Jeep cannot go up almost any incline. And unfortunately, the entire property, I know we've talked a lot about, the layout of the property, but not really like the terrain. The ranch is basically on top of a fucking hill, and the entire property is like a horseshoe, or at least the Wheeling property is a horseshoe around this hill with the ranch on it. So basically, if you want to get out, you have to go uphill. And we found out very quickly that even really trivial uphills were not so trivial in my Jeep with only front-wheel drive. So
I have to point out to our listeners that you are saying that trivial uphills is not possible with your front-wheel drive Jeep.
no, was not.
It was.
I just want to say that the listeners know that you yourself said this.
Yes.
So, I'm riding with him, and we take off down this access trail. It's really easy. And we take the first trail that goes up the hill. He puts it in fifth, trying to pin it up this hill with a running head start, and the Jeep won't go. So we're like, all right, well, Graham, you want to go to the next possible trail? And he's like, yeah. So we go to the next access trail.
Oh, and we're booking it down this main road too, because I knew the first left I see that I can scoot up without slowing down too much. We're just gonna swing in and go for it. Well, we were probably in fifth gear at this point again, going at a slight downhill for quite a while, and I was getting a little nervous because we kept going down, and I knew we wanted to not be going down because I needed to go up, and the more up I have to do, the harder it was gonna be. So we keep going down, I'm getting nervous. I see it was kind of a fork. It wasn't really a sharp left, but it was just a slight fork up, and I was like, okay, there is a trail up. We'll be good to go. And I scoot up this, and literally we go up, it goes around a slight bend, and it's just a fucking shit show of a washed out, steep uphill, even worse than the first one we had already tried and failed. So at that point I was like, shit,
It's like
we're
a
not gonna make it
3-foot washout.
Yeah, it was not a small washout, but we were already halfway in it, and we had gone around a bend. I don't have reverse lights. It's dark as fuck. I wasn't gonna back down it. I figured I wasn't sure where the hell we were. We didn't really have a great map. I don't know if we mentioned it yet. There's multiple maps. So in their defense, we picked the worst of the two maps. But this map was legitimately drawn with a pencil or a pen and crayons. Like the the trails were marked with crayon or pen or like Sharpie and a colored Sharpie and a pen, like to say, oh, this is where the trail is. And it's Maprika, so you can like see your dot. But again, you're still looking at a fucking crayon map with a dot on it, so God knows how accurate that is.
So we're going up this thing, right? And all of a sudden it just starts to bog a little bit, and we're just like, oh fuck. Okay, well, try it again in third. Doesn't go in third up this washout. And so Graham's like, do you want to back out or do you want to winch? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I guess maybe we just try and like winch up it. It can't be that bad carrying on. It was that bad carrying on.
Every inch required all of the force from that fucking winch.
Well, so at this point that you guys are winching, that's when we finally hit like our half-hour cap. And so I ended up finally getting a hold of you two guys. You told us what was going on, and so fucking everybody booked it to their rigs, and we just fucking like scattered into the woods. Just all of us were fucking rip-roaring through trying to find you guys.
Yeah, because we fucked everything up by going so far away from the trail that we were told to take.
And it's like,
and the map, I think Luke even sent a screenshot of where we were on the map, but it doesn't help when it's drawn with crayon and missing 3/4 of the trails.
Hang on, we're missing the fact that I had to go and I pulled the winch about 5 fucking times
Yes.
with a tree saver in the middle of the pitch black wilderness with this fucking headlight that if Graham fucking looks at the switch, the fucking passenger side headlight dies. So I'm fucking running up, pulling cable as he's winching out with the tree saver over me. And I'm like,
You did not
All
look
right.
thrilled. I will give you that. That's why when you stopped,
Oh,
I wasn't like, no, keep
fucker.
going.
throw this fucker around the tree, up to the next one. All right, let's go. Fucking another 60 feet. And so we were pulling ourselves like 60 feet at a fucking time. And I get back to the Jeep after like the 5th time, and Graham looks at me and he goes, "Can I say it now?" And I'm like, "No, you can't
Oh.
say it now." And he's like, "I want to say it now." And I'm like, "Motherfucker, my Glock's in the fucking Jeep. The fucking headlights are fucking dying here.
We had
And
the rock
people
lights,
don't know
though.
where the fuck we are. You're not saying when to go in the fucking place."
It seemed like the perfect time to test it
Wait,
out.
You said it?
No,
Hold
no,
on,
no.
I just
But I
came back. Oh, okay.
no.
He
I,
got
Yeah.
goddamn close to saying it, and we're in the fucking Mothman area. Like, and I'm like, you just don't fucking say it. So, I don't know if I told you this, Graham, because by the time that I got back into the Jeep, I wanted fucking a beer and to go to bed.
and I'd
But
been
as
drinking it. I'd been. We had like 3, and I swear
Oh,
I
I
had
put
2 while you were
4.
witching me.
So, as we're winching up, right, the trees are like a little haggard, and I'm like not thinking anything about it. By the time that we got to the forefork, where there's 2 offshoots, and then there's the trail that we were on where it kept going up that led to the horse barns,
We didn't know that at
there
the
were
time.
bullet holes in the trees. So, like, I'm not thinking nothing that much about it the first time, because there's, like, one of them, and I'm like, alright, whatever, this is like an old farm property, shit happens. And it kept going all the way up. And so by the time that I get to the last fucking tree that I'm tying off to, there's like 5 fucking bullet holes. I walk down and he asks if he can say it in the woods, and I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. I'm not spiritual or nothing. But god damn it, this is not the fucking time to say it. And so I ended up sitting down in the Jeep. Graham's drinking the last fucking beer, of course, because like at this point
I
just
offered it
want
to you.
beer. I took a couple sips. But I wasn't gonna take a beer that you'd already opened. That seemed rude. And like
It's your beer. I drank your beer the whole weekend. You're free to take it.
yeah, but you brought me a set of 60 shafts for beer, so like I can't, complain that far. And so we're like just sitting there waiting for fucking rescue to come.
Oh yeah, we sat there for a solid 15,
Half
20
hour.
minutes. And we saw headlights go
Half
by
hour.
too, and I don't have a horn. So they were like they called us a few times and were asking us to sit on rev limiter so they could try and find us. And every time, from what I understand, that like they couldn't hear anything. Like none of them heard it.
So the only time that we were able to hear you guys was probably the last time that we had called you and told you to do so, which was when we had gone all the way to the end of the trail that it sounds like you guys originally had tried going up and you couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sitting at the top looking at the sign that said camp this way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we heard the rev limiter going off behind us. And I was adamant, no, guys, they're down the fucking hill. It makes sense. They said that they went that way. And JB and Jay were saying, no, we got to go up this left-hand side. I'm like, guys, there's no fucking way they made it up even this far. They're down the hill. So we turned around, went down the hill. We're fucking flying down the hill. And like up on the hillside, we see taillights. And everyone's like, that's them, that's them. I'm like, there's no fucking way they're up that. That is a steep ass fucking hill. He can't make it up a hill. So we turn up the hill and we're looking and it's like, yep, that is definitely the ass end of Graham's Jeep. And then we hit the washed out section. I'm like, what in the actual fuck?
So
You
Richie,
can't
does
go
it
up
all
a
make,
hill? Huh?
does it all make sense now?
Yeah, it makes total sense. You know, I was able to figure out what happened, but what doesn't make sense to me is your guys' fucking thought process.
Yeah, wait. Listen, it's
And-
easy to say
Instead of
we're dumbasses when you weren't there and you didn't see our lack of visibility into that trail as we turned up.
oh, okay, so instead of winching up the what
We should have
seemed
winched up the
like
easy one. This would have all
a
been avoided if we
easy
hadn't just
main road, you go further down looking for a fucking trail.
Yep. Well, because it kept going
Total
down,
sense.
and from what I understand, if we had kept going, it would have actually gotten better as well, and we would have been down more by Cripple Creek. But we didn't. We took a random offshoot on the side, and it was not.
So I suppose as we were coming into the tail ends of this, we ended up having Jason hop in front of us. Well, JB took behind us if we had to get winched back, and we hooked up one of those kinetic ropes to the front of it. I look at Richie, and after Richie's finished hooking this rope up, I'm like, Smokey. And he just gives me this look of like, I know, man. That's the best way I can describe it. Passes me a cigarette.
You looked so absolutely on the verge of death, Luke.
Oh, he was very displeased the entire time. I felt bad making him winch.
It wasn't the
looked
winching
like-
that was the problem. It was the fact that it was
He was
like,
the Wendigos hiding in the woods.
yeah.
Yeah.
It looked like if I didn't give you that cigarette, Luke, you were about to die.
So I grabbed this cigarette. I'm fucking puffing it down. I kill that one while we're sitting there. He gives me another one. And I'm just like casually sipping on it as we start going up the hill.
Sipping on a cigarette?
Not sipping on it, pulling on it, I should have said.
What the fuck?
Sipping on.
That's the weirdest shit I've ever heard.
Dude, it was a weird fucking night. Cut me
Pulling
some
on things and
slack.
sipping on cigarettes. That's wild.
All right. Well, I mean, you're missing the most fun part here, which was all the 5-3 power dragging me up.
Getting there.
Okay.
So we get all hooked up, and the Jeep doesn't want to move. Graham, take it away.
What do you mean the Jeep doesn't want to move?
Your Jeep did not seem to want to get out of its own way.
Oh, no, because it has front-wheel drive, and it's a fat pig, and I was in first gear.
Well,
Jay
was
Jay.
not in first gear.
Yeah, no, he was initially because it was needed. Once we got past that first section, I mean, he was banging on the thing, and it's late at this point, and right at the top, I think, was like the camping section. So we come barreling up this hill.
10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, yeah,
Maybe even a little bit later.
Barreling up this hill with two Jeeps sitting pretty close to, if not at rev limiter, tied together.
Jay
barely
was
moving
most
up this hill.
definitely on rev limiter.
Yeah.
He was.
And he was sending us for a ride. It was really fun. I'm like, okay, well, I'm definitely limiting him in first now. Let me go to second, and then he like shoots up more. I was like, okay, I'm still limiting. Let's try third. At that point, we were cruising. We come popping out of the top of this thing at this, with all the campers and shit on the side, and just blast straight through them. And I think he just dragged us the whole way back. Or no, did he?
No, you guys disconnected.
Okay, yeah, we disconnected.
Connected past the dog area on the horse barn.
Yes.
So he ended up actually heating the motor up a bit much there, because he's fucking going sideways from one side of the trail to the other side of the trail, dragging you on rev limiter.
Yep.
So no surprise, the motor got a little hot,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys ripped up onto the the camping area there, and it was so funny. You guys just fucking stopped right in the middle of the camping area and just sat there chit chatting, letting his Comanche cool off.
He said, what was it? The dash is reading 150 Celsius, but thankfully I don't know how to read.
I forgot he said that.
And he's
He's
like,
got this super loud, obnoxious beeping too.
yeah. Oh, so here's another fun fact about Jay. He likes the grape Dutchies. Not to smoke weed with, just to smoke.
A white grape or just the normal grape?
Grape.
Oh boy, that's odd.
So he's sitting there puffing on them with these like LEDs that sit around his head like as a headband, but one of them is shut off that goes over his like left ear, and the right one's on, and he's just like, yeah, I don't know how to read metric, so I think it's hot. But it's
Anything
okay,
over
I don't know
100
how to
is
read.
bad. Anything over 100 Celsius is bad.
Like,
That's how the metric system works. Under 0, bad. Over 100, bad.
and so he's just like sitting there smoking this thing. I'm chooching down the last of the cigarette. It hits the fucking butt, and I put it out, and I'm like, oh my god, is this night over? And then we go back to camp.
And it was great. And
Oh.
then apparently Craig went up that, and like everybody did their own little thing. It was hilarious. We got back to camp and they were all talking about, where they had gone and what random shit they had accidentally gone up to get back there. It was just a blast of a night. Not at all what anybody was expecting. I didn't, like when I told JB to go, I wasn't like trying to like stir things up and make this a big ordeal. I just wanted you guys to keep going. I wasn't sure what the rest of that trail was like, and I figured we'd be fine. And, apparently that wasn't the case, and we were not fine. We should have just gone up that first section, but
So
that made
so
the night for
just
me.
a-
It was just a little extra spice there.
Yeah,
just
it was
a quick
good trip, man.
sidebar. I just looked it up. 150 degrees Celsius is 302 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's a little toasty.
That's pretty gnarly.
I don't know if it was 150 or whatever, but he said that it was fucking zesty and something in metric. And
He said like 130, 140, but it's whatever. It was fucking hot.
Yeah. Do we want to cover your guys' return trip because we've covered all the wheeling at this point?
Yeah,
I mean,
don't think
yeah,
that
we
won't be
can
too
do that
crazy.
real quick.
Yeah. So yeah, we ended up, obviously we blew the drive shafts, so the next day or that night we had sort of decided, us and JB, that yeah, we'll just scoot out in the morning. Initially everybody was planning on grabbing breakfast. Everybody woke up late. That didn't happen, as is usually the case, but so we all sort of went out, did our own thing once we packed up that morning. We ended up leaving, I think, around 10:30, and I think we had left. We were starting to actually leave the area probably around 11:30.
Yeah, I think we officially got on the highway closer to like 12:30 or so.
Yeah.
But I mean, we also stopped. You guys had to get your Starbucks, like your basic white bitches.
We needed some sort of coffee or food.
We
can't
tried
just all live
looking
off
for
a
a
Monster.
we tried looking for spare tires for the trailer at Tractor Supply.
Oh yeah, because I borrowed Sean's new trailer and it didn't have a spare tire, and I was like, well, it's a new trailer, so we shouldn't need the tire, but at the same time, anything can be in the road and take one or multiple out, and then we'd be shit out of luck. So we were looking. There was a Tractor Supply, so we just went in there, looked for a tire. They had nothing. They had like wagon wheels, and that was it. So and an 8-lug trailer tire, but like that wasn't going to help us. It's a 6-lug trailer. So we gave up on that. Didn't do that.
And
Prior to
important piece.
yeah, I know. Prior
Very
to that,
important.
we went to get gas after we had gotten coffee and everything. Went to go get gas. We went over a couple speed bumps, and my voltage gauge dropped to 8, which it's never done. I didn't really it was a little concerning at the time. We pull over right next to the gas station because it was a zoo. It was filled with fucking people. And I pop the hood, and the positive battery terminal on the driver's side battery is completely off of the truck. Like it's jumped off completely, just dangling, doing whatever the fuck it wants. So I was like, okay, well this is definitely the problem. Hook it back up, no change. Turn it off, turn it back on, back to full voltage, all good. Didn't think anything of it. I was like, okay, but the battery just came disconnected and it fucked up the alternator reading. No big deal. We get fuel, no difference. It was all good still. And then we start driving at this point.
So a very important piece of information here is the fact that in the same general vicinity as the Tractor Supply, there was also a few auto parts stores.
Yes, but
in West Virginia.
Again,
very important for later.
Yes, again, at this point, it didn't matter because we had no correlation to anything, and we were correlating voltage at 8, meaning it's not getting any voltage because it's not reading because it's disconnected from the main battery, is what my thought process was. There was nothing in my mind at that point to convince me anything else was wrong, and that we had a bigger problem. Then, once we started driving a little bit, I don't even know when the next time it dropped, but it did drop back to 8 again.
Well, we noticed it shortly after our first fuel stop. Well, I noticed it.
Oh, that's right, you did. And then we, what did we do at that point? We kind of just kept going, because I've had enough ship boxes that don't show they're charging correctly between the J20 and the XJ at various points in time. So I figured it was just a bad reading, and there was no problem. My little radio thing, which we have, it's this piece of shit we got when we were going to Tennessee, so I can have.
Hey, it's beautiful. It's not a piece of shit. You watch your mouth.
It's a piece of junk that we grabbed at a gas station restaurant thing, which actually had okay food. When we were going that way, so I could listen to something other than every radio station on the way from Massachusetts to Tennessee. And I've still got it. It's annoying. It makes awful talking sounds when I start the truck every time. But one of the things it does is it shows me the voltage. Yeah, it says the voltage when you first power it on. It'll tell you the voltage of the truck and whether it's normal or abnormal. It'll kind of chirp you if it's abnormal. When it starts, only when it starts. And it was never had a problem when it was starting.
Yeah, because every time we would turn the truck off and turn it back on, the voltage gauge would actually have a reading on.
Yep. And, it was never down low. It was always up in the 14, 13 range. Like, there was no cause for any of us to be concerned at all. We keep driving. It's same deal. We make it all the way to Connecticut. And at this point, there's no more fuel stops left. Like, it's 2.5 hours from home. And suddenly, the radio turns off. And this isn't or not the radio, but the music stops. And between that shitty Bluetooth thing and my radio, and just various other things that this truck does, this isn't concerning to me initially. I go and I try to, press play. Sometimes it just stops randomly. Look at the radio. The lights are on, but it's not playing
that all the time.
Yeah, exactly. The lights were on, but it wasn't doing anything. The little main reading on it is out, or it is intermittently out. It's half the time it works, most of the time it doesn't. So again, not really concerning there. But then I look at the voltage, or my little radio thing, and I had unplugged it and plugged it back in, and it said 9.7. And I was like, that's not the radio station. Did one of the LEDs go out? Like, is it just not showing right? Because the station is like 87.5 or something. So I was like, did it just get switched? Is it messed up? And then it dawned on me that was the voltage. And I was like, oh shit. We don't have a lot of voltage till we just straight up stop. So at this point,
and Graham's yelling at me to fucking call JB.
Yeah, I was like, we need to get off fucking now, because I don't know. It dropped pretty quickly. Like, we went from 9.7 to dead within the next 15, 20 minutes. Yeah, and that was after stopping. I mean, we might have been able to make it a little further, but I wouldn't want to chance it. Just knowing how, I wouldn't have trailer brakes at that point. We got no power brakes. We got nothing. Like, we would literally lose everything. It would not be good. Trailer brakes might have worked, but
No, I actually think you lost trailer brakes already.
No, I
'Cause
hadn't. They were still good.
Well, because by the time we got to the gas station and we hopped out, the trailer lights were all dead.
No, they were still kind of on. They definitely
No,
were dim. I
no,
swear they
the
were.
Be
trailer lights
honest,
were
does
not
Graham
on.
ever have trailer brakes? Come on now. Never.
Yeah. I mean, they were working great the whole weekend, but
Yeah, for
when
the first
when
time
we were
ever.
at the gas station, you had no trailer lights.
Damn. Yeah. Well, I swore we had something, but I guess I wasn't paying a ton of attention to that. I was more focused on the fact that we're 2.5 hours from home. It's 10 o'clock, like just past the cusp of stores being open. At this point, I like was 99% sure it was the alternator, because what the fuck else causes something to not charge? Your alternator. So I knew it was probably that, um, or it was a bad connection somewhere. But I mean, I had no reason to think anything was messed up with it previously, so I don't know why a wire would suddenly cause problems. I mean, it can happen, but um, I it was the way it was charging and then not charging and then just finally gave out was enough for me to basically pin it on that. But we're sitting in this gas station parking lot after I had yelled at Richie to call JB, and he's sitting there on his phone like, I'll just text him. I was like, no, we need him to pull up right the fuck now.
I wasn't trying to text him. I was trying to call him because I did not have JB's number at the time, and I have never directly messaged JB like personally. So I was trying to fucking pull his name up on Facebook so I could fucking call him. And the whole time, Graham is like fucking screaming at me to stop fucking around and to call him. And all I can do is, I'm fucking trying.
Why didn't you just stop fucking around and call him then, Richie? The man tells you to do something, fucking do it, goddamn.
So we pull up at the next exit.
JB was almost too far to take the exit.
Yeah, but he'd made it. We pulled in right behind him. We're sitting at this gas station, and it's running. I give JB the whole spiel as to what's going on. I'm like, if I shut it off, that's where it sits for the night. So it's still running. It's ticking down. I think like when it started, we were probably at 9 volts, and then I watched it go to 8.8, then 8.6. And this is all like, we don't have a gauge. All I have is my stupid fucking Bluetooth thing to plug in and unplug and be like, what are we at now? What are we at now? And fortunately, there was a hotel literally right next to the gas station, but I was like, I don't know if I've got enough juice to make it that far. Eventually, I nutted up and got in the truck, pulled it around the gas station, pulled out on the street.
No lights or anything.
Oh yeah, no lights. I turned everything off. I was like, we need to save all of this. We're coasting into this hotel parking lot. It is the worst set up parking lot for trailers I have ever seen.
Oh god,
it
terrible.
is like a labyrinth of just like random little offshoots that go nowhere, like to like 3 parking places. So we pull around to like the one I can see that's pretty big that has some other trailers. I pull into like this section with no cars on it. It's not where I would have chosen to park had the truck not died, but I literally start pulling into this to get out of the main of the road, and it goes blah 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 blah, dead. And then we just kind of coast in, everything clears, we're in our parking spot, and I was like, cool, this is where we're getting a hotel.
And JB so totally did not want to leave us either, especially after Saturday night.
Because I told him to leave us and it ended up being a shit show. He didn't want to leave, but I was like, no, just go home. We're like half an hour from Richie's place, according to Richie.
Yeah, well, I GPS'd it.
Yeah, so we figured out, logistics for all that stuff in the morning, put a new alternator in it. Of course it was raining.
Whoa. That does not give me due credit here.
Okay. Give yourself the credit you deserve.
I woke up early, and I sat there waiting for all the parts stores to open, and as soon as they started opening, I started fucking calling. I must have called like 30 fucking parts stores. And not a single fucking store had an alternator in stock and could get one in stock before like 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The only fucking store that had one in stock was 40 minutes down 84.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and our only vehicle at this point was the two-wheel drive wagon strapped to the back of my plank on wheels that no longer can roll because it's attached to
So
my boat anchor of
so
a truck.
what I ended up doing was I noticed that my that the maps on my phone said that there was a parked car that was registered to my phone 9 miles away. And I know that means that my dad's truck is only 9 miles away.
Uh-huh.
So I GPSed his work fucking 15 minutes away down 84. So I called up my dad. I was like, hey, how's it going? And I had my dad come down to our hotel from work, pick me up. I bring him back to work in his truck, and then I come back to the hotel to grab Graham and the alternator, and we go all the way up 84 to grab the fucking alternator, come back, we get the alternator swapped in the rain, and Graham was making fun of me because I wrapped myself up in a tarp because I didn't want to be wet. And then we sat there for like, it felt like an hour with my dad's truck hooked up to his truck, both trucks idling, trying to get the batteries up to full charge.
Oh yeah, because
Oh
we
my
still weren't
God.
sure. Like it was charging when I revved it, but at the same time the voltage was still like not at 14. It's just a lot for an alternator to charge from dead. So we had to sit
Yeah.
there with the trucks connected, and try to get things back to equilibrium before I was like, yeah, let's throw it back on the highway and go the rest of the way.
Oh, because Richie still had to go all the way to your house to get his
Yeah,
vehicle.
yeah.
Damn.
It
So
sucked
you
for
passed.
him.
That sucks. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but god damn, that's an extra
And
2
we didn't
hours
actually
or
get
so, right?
back until like 3:30.
In the afternoon, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure. Just
And then
making sure my
I-
timelines were
I
right.
left Graham's place very shortly after we got there.
Oh, because it was pouring
And-
rain, or it wasn't pouring, but it was raining, and the whole shop parking lot was a zoo, which I completely forgot about because it was a Monday at 3 o'clock. Of course, it's a fucking zoo. So I just parked it in the middle of everything, unloaded the Jeep, uh, moved everything. Richie got his shit out of the truck, and he like basically boogied from there. I pulled the truck out of the way, parked the Jeep, then I went and brought the trailer.
It took me like 4.5, almost 5 hours to get home.
Oh, and traffic was fucking ridiculous. I don't know, we just couldn't catch a break. It would have been so much nicer.
For me, there was a few like pretty big accidents on the way home, and it's like every time the gridlock from one accident would start to clear up,
There'd be another.
we'd hit another accident.
Jesus.
Like
Yeah, it was dumb.
from the shop to I think the Framingham plaza that we first fueled up at, Graham.
Yep.
That took us like what, a half hour to get to
Oh,
or
that's
so.
that's like a 45-minute drive with no traffic.
Oh,
I'm sure
okay,
it took
so
you like an hour and
45
a half.
minutes. It took me over an hour and a half to get there.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
just
I
that
did the same
far.
thing like right after you, and yeah, it was a fucking nightmare. It was just backed up almost the whole way.
But like
and just not fun.
it was so fucking terrible. And it's like every time I had a bright idea of like hopping off the highway to try to cut some of the highway out to then hop back onto the highway, it's like every motherfucker had the exact same idea.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like no matter what I did, I was stuck in traffic. Fucking, it was pouring rain on and off again the whole way.
Yeah, just a great way to end the trip with rain. That's always how it goes. We can never escape it. We almost did, and then the alternator decided we needed to get our taste. So, I don't know. All is well. Truck still charges now.
10 out of 10 would do again.
Yeah, I would do it again.
So, this is obviously right at the tail end of things. What did you guys learn from the trip?
To take voltage gauges more seriously.
Yeah. To I don't know. I guess that and that my traction bar is really fucking dumb, and I need to figure out why it's being stupid. Because I'm not putting a
Colin,
full
you,
link in
you
it.
need a longer shackle.
Yeah, I think that might be it, but
I,
I gotta do
I'm
some
telling you,
research on it.
Graham, that something in your rear end is fucked up.
Oh, I mean, I haven't even looked at it since I parked it, so I'll look at it tomorrow and assess the damages here and how we're gonna fix it for next trip. I don't know. I mean, that traction bar did survive through all of Roush, and we were not nice to it. It might have been like hanging on by a thread. Who knows? Um, but
I
it's kind of annoying that
I
it
I,
pops
I
off
think there's
every other
something
trip.
wrong with the rear axle, like its physical attachment to the Jeep. That's what I think.
Yeah,
Because I mean,
maybe.
your rear axle, because your front end is wider than your rear, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for your passenger rear to stick out so much further than your front passenger is kind of not okay.
Yeah, that's a little odd, but I'll look at it and see what I can figure out. It's definitely got some things that need adjusting, but we'll adjust them a day before the next trip.
Oh, perfect. Just like rock lights, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, maybe I'll finish wiring the rest of those. Paid for 8. Should probably wire all 8.
Oh,
Those are cool
we
though.
we didn't tell anyone about that part.
No, it's
This
fine.
motherfucker, because I had originally said
This
that we
this
should
should
leave at
not
eight
be this
o'clock.
should not be a surprise. You knew what you were getting yourself into.
I had originally said that we should leave at 8 o'clock on Thursday. So this motherfucker decides to start in wiring up his rock lights at like 7:40,
Yep.
and he
It
didn't
took quite a bit.
finish until like 9 o'clock.
That's
Now,
how it
mind you,
goes.
at 8 o'clock, it was like barely even misting outside, and at 9 o'clock, it was pouring. And then we had to load the Jeep.
And we could not load
Oh,
it straight. It
God.
would not load on straight. That was like at this point the tow guys are watching us because we pulled it on and off like 4 times because it kept going to
Oh
to
God,
the
we,
right.
we looked like such fucking idiots, and I know it.
Yeah, but it is what it is. I mean, it like we could either leave it like that for 12 hours, 14 hours, or we could try to get it more square. I'd rather try to get it more square. It just wouldn't do it. It was really obnoxious. It just kept sliding.
Every time the ass end started going up the end of the trailer, it would just fucking slide all the way to the passenger side of the trailer.
So we just ran it like it was, and over the course of the drive, we got to tighten the driver's side strap as it slowly pulled the Jeep to the driver's side.
Yeah,
Stupid.
That's fucking terrible.
and you know what? Though we had the same problem trying to load the Jeep up at Good Evening
Yeah,
Ranch.
because we thought it was just maybe it was wet, maybe the trailer's at an angle and it's like grabbing weird. No, no, it was just like that the whole fucking way.
So you're admitting to the fact that you guys are dumb.
Yes,
Got
we're
it.
very dumb.
No. So the reason why I mention this though is to uh give up give my statement of there's something wrong with his rear end a little bit of standing, because we would have it going onto the trailer like pretty straight and everything, but as soon as he got his front end up the trailer, he had to go like through the fender wells, because his tires were the exact width between the fenders.
Yeah.
And while his tires were going through that, that's when the ass end of his Jeep would just kick over. And it didn't matter however far to the driver that we had set the ass end, it would always end up hanging off on the passenger side. That's why I think there's something wrong with the axle, because every time it would walk over pretty much the same amount. So like the axle's not straight is what I'm saying poorly.
Yep. Well, I'll measure it for you. Next time I have a tape measure in my hand. Until then,
You
I don't
better.
care. And on that note,
Mention the podcast, and I'll cut $100 off the cost of my tires, which, by the way, are for sale.
And they work incredibly
Pretty
okay.
damn
Okay.
good.
They haven't sliced a sidewall in the 3 years you've owned them.
Yeah, no, I'm just getting rid of them to go stickies because I've been bitten by that bug, and don't buy a. God, do not buy a goddamn motobilt fuel cell. That's all. Have a good night.
You can say Wendigo when you're not in the woods, but not when Luke's winching you out.
Did you say Mandingo?
Don't
No,
say
it's Wendigo.
just
You
never
dummy.
never say Mandingo ever.
Wendigo.
Don't say Mandingo.
Yeah, I mean,
All
I
right,
prefer
yeah,
you
this
not
is
to say
this
that
is
one.
we're done here. I'm stopping the recording.